our latest Smoke and Snow session. We're a couple of players down this session because Rob and Dave aren't feeling very well, so I hope they get better soon and can rejoin us. We're just going to fade their characters into the background for this session because I'm really not about that playing other people's characters' life. Luckily, since our group hired like 4 retainers recently, they've still got a few bodies, so for the purposes of this game, obviously we've got Johannes playing Weimar and Darren playing Brock, and they've sort of just split the henchmen like between them 2 each, and they're going to be responsible for controlling them. However, we pick up this session with the player characters heading to Deersun, the nearby village, after the grisly spectre of their ex-henchman Gordon Sinclair materialised to them, begging from beyond the grave for his bones, which apparently still lie in the snow, forgotten on the northern border of the forest to the north of Deersun. They agreed to travel there and lay his bones to rest in like a proper burial, effectively. So we pick up with you guys travelling, following the coast to the west towards Deersun. It's a journey of just over a day, basically day and a half, pretty much. So you've travelled about 24 miles. You're getting to the end of the first day. Dusk has just started to fall. There's a light rain has been falling through most of the day. It's not too heavy, but it is quite cold since we're getting into the winter of Valconen. And as you're sort of scouting out the area, looking for a place ready to settle down for the evening to make camp, as it were, you hear what appear to be just from over a little hillock. You hear what appear to be gruff voices talking in slightly hushed tones, and you hear a voice say, "Look, just hurry up and get those savages down into the cave. Callum will have your guts for garters if you don't, even if he does follow that woman." At which point another grizzled voice responds, "Huh, that's no woman. You wouldn't say that if you met her. That's the ghost. She's the most ruthless pirate on the seas. Don't you worry, you stand guard. I'll get these Ice Walker devils down to Callum in the cave." And then you hear like footsteps fading away into the distance. After a few moments, just from the other side of this hillock, you hear like tick, tick, tick. And you see like a little like wisp of smoke come up from just over the hillock, and you get the faint smell of tobacco sort of wafting over to where you're both standing. Obviously you've got your henchmen with you, your cart, etc. Over to you guys.
What's your take on that, Brock?
Well, obviously sounds like people up to no good. Did you say they were just over sort of like a hillock type?
Yeah, they're just over a very sort of shallow hillock. I mean, you're on the coast, so it's not like a massively steep hill. It's just like a gently rolling little hill.
But obviously no line of sight or anything at this stage.
No,
so
there's no direct line of sight. They must be just over the lip of the hill, because obviously you saw the smoke from the guy's pipe, you presume.
Yep. Well, I would suggest that we sneak up and at least take a look and assess the situation when we can get eyes on them, numbers, etc. I'm more than willing to sneak up and have a look.
Yeah, to be sure. We need to figure out how many people we're dealing with here, regardless of what they're actually doing.
Yeah. So my barbarian's actually got move silently.
Yeah,
as one of his things, which I don't normally use.
Well, now's your chance.
We normally get other people potentially more successful. So I'm going to hug the ground and sort of sliver up and try and get my head to just look over the top of this hillock.
Yeah, no problem. Make me your move silently roll.
Right, yeah. Ooh. Nope.
Okay, so you sort of creep like on your stomach to the top of this hillock, and as you peer over it, you can see a man wearing like a ragged jerkin, sort of canvas trousers. He's got a bit of like a headband or headscarf on against the sort of harsh winter sun. He's got like a sort of fur waistcoat sort of pulled over him. You see he's stood there, he's like holding his hands around his pipe as he's like trying to get a bit of warmth from them as he's like, and just in front of him you can see what appears to be a large sort of, looks like it's naturally occurring based on your sort of wilderness knowledge, like hot jagged hole in the ground, probably just about wide enough for like a single person to fit through. You can see from the brush and branches scattered around it that it looks as though it was previously covered over. And in the sort of damp soils, obviously it's been raining for a little bit, you can see like shallow footprints as though someone recently went into the hole.
But no sign of anyone else, no ice walkers,
Not as far as you can see,
nothing like that.
just this one guy. But you're just about to turn around and sort of head back to Weimar when your sort of foot accidentally knocks a stone and it like tumbles down the hill. I'm going to make a quick roll to see whether this guy notices that.
We'll nervously look back towards this guy.
Okay, you see like he does turn his head slightly to look in your direction. You see him like quickly like, knock out the tobacco out of his pipe against his leg. He reaches down next to him on the ground and you see him like, lift up a crossbow, and he starts like warily sort of, he's obviously not directly spotted you but he's heard the noise, and he's sort of warily like walking up the hill, like, looking around with this crossbow in his hand.
Well, I'm going to do a sort of on my back sort of shimmy down the hillock a little bit,
That's fine.
and I'll sort of signal to the others, sort of, you know, try and signal that this guy's walking towards us, and I'll try and as quietly as possible sort of draw my sword, and just hug the back of this hill, ready to sort of pounce if he does get to the top and sees us.
Drawing your sword quietly is not a problem. Obviously you're in charge of the your two hirelings, so you can judge what they're doing. What's Weimar doing? You've seen sort of Brock gesture that this guy's walking up the hill.
I'll I'll give the rest a nod, and we'll sort of do that like hunker down, sort of scurry along towards Brock.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. And after a while, you do indeed see like the upper torso of this guy appear like over the rise. This sort of like grizzled, sort of stubbly face. As he sort of opened his mouth, you can see like the brown tobacco staining on his teeth. He's holding this sort of like fairly like shabby looking crossbow in his hands, and you see he's obviously looking around. He's heard something or something's alerted him. You can see he's got like his crossbow ready in case he needs to fire it, and he's like, you can't see his legs yet, but obviously he's still sort of like walking up the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And he's having a quick look around.
From the tunic, did I get anything from the tunic? Who he might be?
It just appeared to be a fairly sort of bog standard like leather and cloth tunic.
No sort of symbols or any sort of...
No, there were no like noticeable emblems or anything like that on it. You can tell he's not an ice walker just due to his physical appearance. He looks like a normal human.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that really would make him stand out.
And we didn't see any boats on the coastline or anything, did we, on the way? No. He sounded a bit like a pirate or something, didn't he?
No, you didn't notice any boats nearby.
Okay. Well, I've convinced myself that he's up to no good. So if I think he's gonna get high enough to spot any of us, I am just gonna...
You're pretty sure that when he reaches the top of that hill, and he will effectively be looking down on you, so he will see you.
So I'm getting in a position where I'll be able to sort of stab up at him if he comes that high up, or if he doesn't and he turns around and goes back down, then I'll stay hidden.
Okay.
So I'm sort of preparing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Such a thing.
Okay, yeah, so he gets to the top, so walks to with his crossbow, walks up to the top of this hill. He looks down, obviously he's clocked you guys, and you see him, he starts to like turn around and like go. But obviously, like, you guys are ready, so you get to act before he does that. He's seen you and he's just obviously turning around, perhaps to shout somebody else or something like that. What do you guys want to do?
Yeah, I'm literally just gonna plough my sword into him.
Go for it.
Not very good.
Okay, that's not enough, I'm afraid.
Nope.
So you like leap out to and swing your sword at him. However, obviously he spotted you and he was expecting it, and he sort of like rocks back on his heels, sort of trying to bring the crossbow around.
Yep.
But obviously the rest of you guys get to go. So Brock, you can do your NPCs.
Yeah. Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll just do people's NPCs going on like their turn, just keep it simple.
Yep. So Moffat will attack with his hand axe. Oh, it's as bad as I am. And Bjorn will do the same. So we'll sort of try and coordinate, but not really successfully by the looks of it. Not sure about that. No.
Okay, that is a hit.
Oh, that one is.
So what your hireling does manage to do him some damage, but it's literally like a grazing cut across his forehead, causing him to stumble back a little. However, since you guys have effectively got the surprise round, obviously Weimar, you and your hirelings get to go before this guy.
Right, so longbow it is for Weimar. Okay, that's interesting. I'll need to redo my macros, I think.
Okay.
A little bit messed up, but here we go. 17?
Oof,
that'll hit.
Yeah, 19 actually. Yeah.
Okay, so would you like to describe how you cinematically dispatch this guy with your longbow?
I think it's a case of, because this was a bit messy in execution, so
Yeah.
and like we're busy like going forward to get to Brock, so it's a case of like, oh shit, now it's going down. So it's a sort of like shooting from the hip as much as you can with a longbow.
Yeah.
And it's a good hit. It grazes his throat just enough to nick some good veins, but it doesn't actually, like, the arrow just flies by him, but it just like slices the neck
Indeed.
open.
And that's what happens. The arrow's like straight past him. You see him, like, he clamps his hand there. He tries to call out, obviously still intent on shouting his friends, presumably, but all that comes out is a sort of like wet burble as like blood starts running out of his mouth and like round his hand. Then, like, after a few moments, his legs give out and he pretty much pitches forward on his face and like slides a few feet down the hill and like lies still with this like patch of blood spreading out from his neck.
I think we'll scurry along to Brock as quickly as we can, and it's like, did you find anything? I'm sorry I shot him, but you know.
Well, no, he was definitely going to alert his friends or whatever, companions. So I'll pull him this side of the hill.
Yeah, you drag him down, it's not difficult.
And I'll just really roughly just sort of try and cover up what blood was potentially noticeable, but I mean, it'd be a bit of a crude attempt.
That's fine.
I'll say that there's an entrance or some sort of hole over there that they've obviously, well, it sounded like they've taken some ice walkers in there, so I'm very keen to go and investigate what's going on.
And we're
I haven't seen anyone else.
We're getting the idea that they're not passengers per se, right?
No.
That's kind of what I was picking up.
Yeah. So can we check his body very quickly for any signs of any allegiance to anyone or what?
You check him over. He you don't see anything obvious on his clothing or anything like that. He has 10 gold pieces in his pocket, which obviously you can take. He's got a crossbow. Aside from that, at first you don't think there's really anything particularly like noteworthy about him. However, as you're sort of like ruffling through his clothes and sort of seeing what's got on him, you actually find that on his arm there is a sort of tattoo at the top of his arm, and it's a very crude tattoo of a skull with a sort of cross like that underneath it, almost like a plus sign underneath it. And it appears to have been done in sort of, it must have once been like red ink, but it's been like faded down to like a dull brown colour.
Sort of show everyone. Has anyone seen anything like this before? Look around the faces.
There's a lot of like shaking of heads from your various people.
Yeah. And
I'll tell you what, bro, roll me a d12.
I was going to say, I mean, is there such thing as pirates and such
Oh yeah.
that I've heard of? A 2.
Okay, I'm going to say that a couple of your hirelings have sort of heard rumours about pirates operating in the area, and apparently have been since before the sort of first wave of like proper settlers came back to Valconen, since they basically knew this place was like accessible long before anyone else did. And apparently quite a few pirates used to like store stuff here, which is now obviously becoming a bit of an issue because like settlers are coming in, etc. It's no longer just like a free space where they can like hide their loot and stuff like that. But none of them are particularly schooled on so like particular bands of pirates or anything like that. But they're like, oh yeah, he's most likely a pirate. That's probably the emblem of whatever pirate band or group he belongs to. They say, because obviously being at sea and whatever can be pretty like hard wearing on clothes and stuff like that. A lot of pirates, they tend to get these tattoos on themselves rather than like wear like a flag or anything like that, just because it's more permanent.
Okay, yep. I mean, yeah, like I said before, I'm keen to investigate. There was sound of, or talk of ice walkers being involved, so I'd like to find out what that's all about. So I'm going to head over to this hole and sort of listen and look for any light from inside.
Okay, you look down through the hole and you can see it probably heads down maybe 20-25 feet, but you can see like a soft amber light coming from below, so that you think probably like a lantern or something below. You see like there's some natural cave walls. However, there appears to already be some like 2 iron spikes hammered into the edge of the hole, like a rope ladder going down, so they've obviously used this a few times to get access to it.
And is the light moving, or is it
The light appears to be stationary. It's just like flickering slightly.
Okay. So I mean, are people happy to join me in investigating? I'll ask the rest of the group.
Yeah. Well, definitely. I think it's probably a case of like everyone's sort of staying back a bit because you know what you're doing, and also we're talking about ice walkers. So you know, I think there's a bit of a deference here.
Yeah.
Sort of letting you take the lead. No problem.
How many of our retainers are actual ice walkers, John?
2
I
of
think
them.
2, isn't?
Is it
Yeah,
2?
it's Bjorn and Bullseye are ice walkers.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna suggest that I go first, followed by those 2. You know, to back me up.
Yeah.
Because if we do come across ice walkers, we'd hope to get a better response. Like,
Do we want to have like a rear guard? Because I could be that. I could bring up the rear if we think that's necessary.
yeah, I mean, I've got no idea how big this place is, how many we're dealing with, or anything yet.
Because there might be more around outside. I mean, that's
all right.
Or around.
I think
here.
I think it might be worth staying up top until we've sort of just had a very quick assessment. of how
If
big
you
this
if you
place is.
pop in and send the word down, I'll keep an eye out at the precipice, and you know.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
Okay, yeah. So that's it. I'll take up a post at the edge of this, and I suppose the rest sort of file in a little bit.
Okay, no problems. I'll move you guys onto the map. I've dropped all the tokens on there for convenience later, but don't worry too much about it. Obviously, we know where everyone is. Just wait for it to move everyone over.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so you head down into this natural looking cave. You can see that nailed into a metal loop, like an iron loop, on the ceiling. A short distance away is a lantern which is sending out this flickering golden light. As you look to the west of you, you can see what appears to be a very chipped and sort of old statue. It appears to show some sort of like large serpent, but it has almost like a leonine face with like feathers around it. But the statue appears to be like very weather worn and damaged. It's quite damp down here in this cave, and you can hear like the sound of sort of like dripping water coming from nearby. In the sort of distance, echoing through the corridor in front of you, you can hear the sound of like distant footsteps and what sound like muffled voices.
And that's coming from the east, is it?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. And that, what we can see, is that from that lantern's light, or
It is,
it any other light? Okay. Can I take that lantern? Is it attached?
It's just hooked through a metal loop, but yeah, you can take it. That's not a problem. Let me just sort you out a light source for yourself. Just give me a moment.
Might as well utilise that.
Okay, so according to this, you should already have a light source on you anyway, so... So yeah, so you've already got like a standard sort of like lantern vision
cool.
range set up on you, so you should be good.
Yep. Yeah, I was just looking at this statue. I don't think it's been particularly well looked after, or
No.
I don't think it's any significance to these guys in any way.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like maybe the cave was once used for something else.
Yeah.
But it certainly doesn't appear to have been cared for.
Yeah. Okay. And is it anything I recognise? Any sort of religious?
Well, yeah,
relevance?
you're pretty sure it's a statue depicting one of the old gods.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. Well, if that's the situation that we can see, then I propose to move east a bit. Are these 5 or 10 foot squares? These ones.
They are 5 foot.
Okay. So I'm gonna move up to. Okay. So it doesn't go north or south or anything. It just continues east. So I just want to get to the edge of, or the beginning of the new room, just to see if I can see anything.
Yeah, that is absolutely fine. And as you sort of peer in, you can see there's obviously that further lanterns hung up in this larger cave that it leads to. You can see what appears to be a grizzled looking figure. He is wearing like chainmail, breeches, etc. And he appears to be like pushing a number of like children who from the physicality look to be like ice walkers, like in front of him. He's just like pushing them. They appear to be heading eastwards through this large cavern. Stood in the centre of the cave is what appears to be a large man with a grey beard, wearing pretty much your standard sort of like pirate captain-y style gear, you know, long leather coat, that sort of thing. He's stood there and he's like, go on, get him into the pen with the rest of them. You hear the guy with chainmail sort of reply in the affirmative, and he's like, again, this grizzled, grey-bearded figure shouts, "Go on, hurry up with you. You know what she'll do if we're late, you scurvy landlubber." At which point the other fellows are pushing these kids is like, yeah, all right. And he's like, go on, get on with you, go on. And obviously these like kids, you can see like basically they're sort of like roped together, are sort of like sobbing and stumbling along as he's like pushing them eastwards.
Yeah, so they're heading in that eastward direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at this point, I mean, Brock's blood's going to be bubbling and boiling, but he's going to hold it together just long enough to head back and report what he's found, and suggest that someone gets Weimar to come down here because it's about to kick off.
Okay, yeah, so one of the henchmen sort of like climbs up the ladder just enough to like poke their head out, gestures to you, Weimar, and says, "Oh, Brock says you should get down here, but I think it's all about to kick off."
Yep, I will do so, definitely. So
yeah, no problem. You head down the ladder, you see the little cave, much as I've described it.
So, I mean, it'd be definitely noticeable that Brock's sort of containing himself as best as possible. It'll be sort of paid while he's waiting for Weimar to get down these few stairs or steps or ladder, whatever it is. And he's sort of he's about to burst, so he's waiting. And as soon as Weimar comes down, he's like, "What are we going to do? I can only see two of them, but they've got a bunch of Ice Walker kids, and they're putting him into some sort of prison or cage."
Only two. There has to be more, right? It can't be 3 people operation.
Well, he was talking about someone else, or some woman, I think.
Well, we can't really scout for their numbers, I guess. So how do you want to do this? Do you want bust in, take them out, deal with whatever comes up next?
Well, they've got lanterns in the cave, so if we leave this lantern here, then we can use what cover we've got until we find them in their light. Use their light to sort of guide us and try and catch them off guard. Do you think they're, and I'll look around the others, do you think they're despicable enough to use the children as some sort of bargaining?
Bullseye's like, wow, if they're pirates, I would think so, yeah. I mean, they're not exactly known for caring about anyone other than themselves. And obviously you can see like Bjorn and like Bullseye are like pretty much raring to go as well, being Ice Walkers themselves.
So I suggest me and Bjorn basically try and secure the children, or get between the children and these scum, whilst you guys with ranged weapons can try and take them out with the use of the darkness, shooting into the light, maybe.
It's
as best as possible.
Yeah, no. And you all take shields and try and cover the cages, is it? What are the cages made of?
I didn't actually get to see the cages, did I? No. He didn't say.
Yeah.
It's that, or try and sneak past
and
get to the cages first and try and
I
Sure.
think probably rush in, just shock them, take them down.
Okay.
Because we don't know what's in there, so
If we don't take this lantern, John, where does the light sort of extend to in that main sort of cavern, whatever?
It's sort of in the cavern you're in at the minute. It sort of extends to about here.
But if I sort of sneak up to that point, is this little bit in front of me in darkness so that we can use it as a bit of sort of cover? Or
Yeah, it's it. I mean, obviously there's stray light being cast from all the lanterns in here, but yeah, it's quite dim in this bit.
so we can try and sort of prepare in that area and see what we can see and see if there's any more walking about, and yeah, make a bit of a plan. So I'm going to get to here and bring everyone else up, and then use that light there to see what we can see. So it is what we see there, just the one guy there now.
Yeah. However, as you see him there, you hear another voice from somewhere else in the cave shout out, "Boss, how much longer we got to be here for?" And he's like, you see this like grey bearded figure like turns around and he looks to like the northeast, so sort of in this direction, and he's like, "Don't worry about it. This is the last lot. Once we've got them in the boat, we can get out of here."
Get him into the boat. So that means there's some sort of underground river or something, do we think, that they're
Probably,
loading
yeah.
him into?
probably a grotto or something. They might have a small vessel inside.
So time is definitely of the essence, or else they're just gonna
And we probably have to.
disappear.
So we're gonna have to deal with the boat as well. I
Well, like I
guess.
say-
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. No.
I was just thinking it's gonna be about speed, isn't it?
Mm.
Because they'll see trouble kicking off. Over here. Push the boat to water. We can't chase them, so
So what if yourself and Bullseye and anyone else that's got range sort of basically stands where we are at the moment, and me and Bjorn try and sort of hug the outside, use the dim light and stuff, and see if we can get around. I don't know how much
Sure.
light that lantern's giving off, but we can try it.
sure.
And if they see us, you can let fly, and
Mhm.
we'll run and try and secure the boats. If we get through, then we might get a bit more of an advantage.
Let's go with that. So I'll be here with Bullseye. We're gonna have the bows ready to go.
I'll take Bjorn with me, and we're trying to hug that sort of eastern side of the cave, John,
Okay.
and try and sort of sneak along there. I don't know how high up that light comes, but we're going to try and hug the wall as much as possible and see if we can get around the corner and see what we can see.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Make me a move silently roll, bro.
Okay. Oof, that don't look good either.
Okay, so unfortunately you're not very quiet. I mean, it's quite difficult with all the loose rocks and rubble and stuff like that. But as you move around the corner, obviously you made a bit more noise than you intended to. The grey bearded figure with the white brimmed sort of tricorner hat who stood in the centre of the cave, he looks in your direction. You see, like, he's like peering. He's obviously not actually seen you yet. He's just sort of heard the noise, and he's like, "Jones, is that you? Get a move on."
Are we, like I say, are we in light at that point, or is he just sort of going by sound only?
He seems to just be going by the sound. You can see he's obviously like squinting, like trying to see you, but presumably if he had seen you, he would have known that you're not where this Jones is.
All right, so I'll make some shuffling noises as if I'm sort of trying to hurry up a bit, and I'll grab Bjorn, go, and and sort of grunting a bit, and I'll just carry on and hug this wall.
He's like, yeah, let's see your lip, Jones. Come on, we ain't got all day. We've got this last consignment to get to the boat, and then we've got out. You know what she'll do if we're too late with them.
So I'm sort of on this corner, I guess. That's where I'm trying to go.
Okay, no problems. As you sort of move further in, hugging the wall, you can see there's a number of these lanterns sort of like on poles throughout the cave. Obviously, this is something of an operation. They've sort of like lit the caverns. You can see there's obviously this grey-bearded figure. There's a couple of, at least 3 other figures that you can see sort of stood around him. Obviously, the floor's fairly uneven here and here. As you look across to the east, just here, you can see that in a sort of passageway branching off from this main sort of cavern, it looks as though someone's built like a very crude, like wooden plank wall to sort of block off the cavern, and then there's like a very crude sort of like wooden door that they've obviously built into it as like a sort of a makeshift way of like walling off part of this cave system, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Is it bars so you can see through it, or is
No,
it?
it's just like a solid wooden door.
All right.
You can see the guy who stood in front of it. He has like a like a large bunch of like metal keys like hanging on his belt above his breeches, and he's holding a crossbow. He's like stood there sort of looking around.
And is there any movement at this point? Any sort of children being moved around, or the door's shut now? Is it?
The door is shut. You can see there's like a shallow sort of groove in the stone, so it's obviously been open and shut quite a lot, so over the years presumably. And you can hear sort of a slight sort of like muffled like knocking or banging sound from the other side of the door, but obviously you don't know what it is, and there's no sort of view window in the door.
But do I hear any, what I'm assuming are pirate voices from the other side of the door?
Like I say, you can hear maybe a snatch of a muffled voice, but you're too far away to really tell it distinctly. However, as you watch, you see the guy who stood in front of the door, the one who has the keys on his belt. He like bangs on the door and then sort of putting his face really close to it. He shouts, "Hurry up! Start bagging it up! We're going to be moving out soon!" And you hear like a from the other side of the door.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to do this that ain't going to get completely messy. Just because of the amount of sort of ground we've got to cover, and I don't think I'm stealthy enough to take this guy out just ahead of me and work round. Can I see this guy just to sort of northeast of me?
Yeah.
Is he looking in our direction?
You can see he's pretty much like the other people with crossbows. He's surveying the cave. He's obviously on whatever passes for like lookout duty. They appear to have like a number of people spaced out throughout the cave, and presumably more people in this sort of sectioned off bit of the cave just beyond to the east.
Yep.
At which point the grey-bearded figure shouts, "Right, you lot, we're going to be moving out soon." He points at the person with the keys and he's like, "Help Smith with the bagging up. Then you go and get them and tell them to bring them urchins down to the boat. We'll see you there. Once everyone's gathered, we'll move out." And he starts like walking towards the southern end of the cave.
Okay. With that new bit of information, I'm wondering if they're going to bring them out and take them down to the south. So I'm going to try and just duck round this corner and just like hug the wall and just watch that lanterned area to see if I can see anything from any movement from that doorway.
Okay, so
keys.
What you see is the person with the keys goes up to the door to take one of the keys out, like unlock the door. They swing it open, step through, and the door shuts behind them. However, when it's open, for a few moments, you glimpse beyond it into like another sort of small cave, what appears to be another one of these like pirates who appears to be sort of like shoving gold and like various different items into like large Hessian sacks. And as just as the door swings shut and like you lose sight of it, the person with the key to him say, "Oh, Callum sent me to give you a hand with the bagging up." And then just from beyond the door, just as it swings shut, you hear like the sound of someone banging on wood and him going like, "Stop moving him out." And then the door.
Well, I'm hoping they're coming through this cavern, but what do you think? Do you think they're coming through this cavern, or they're working behind the door in the sort of another area?
So I guess you would be talking to Bjorn.
Well, I mean, at this stage, yeah. But I mean, we're not far from you, but I mean, they're moving south. They're going to bring him into this room and move them south where we can sort of jump them, or I can't tell if they're potentially moving them out behind that door and we don't know that that's happening. The other guys are still staying in this room, are they? On watch.
They appear to be doing so at the moment, as though they're sort of like basically covering the retreat for their fellows.
Yeah.
So yeah, they will definitely bring them to the door here, right? The plank wall.
Yeah. You think they bring him out and take him south?
Yeah.
I think we're better to wait then, because yeah, hopefully they'll start to lead out, so there'll be less numbers at least to start with, and obviously they can try and reinforce it later. But if we take the sort of rear guard and work our way,
Are you
I mean,
proposing let them come up here and then start working?
Well, I
on
think they're
them,
going
or-
south because the leader's gone off to the south. He's heading
These
down
two are
there.
staying over here. What are they guarding?
I think it's just the treasure that's still behind that door. I'm guessing. I mean, I haven't seen any sign of the children yet, have I?
No.
And I haven't heard any sort of screams or crying or.
Now, aside from the brief glimpse you saw of them earlier when they were being like herded towards that door in the east.
But they were going that way,
Yeah.
weren't they? Yeah. I can only assume they're going to try and ransom them off or something.
Well, whoever the taskmaster is, he's probably not going to be far off from his paycheck. So, well, commission, whatever we would call it. What do you want to do?
Well, like I say, it's whether they're coming back into this room and going down to the south, which is what I think they're going to do. I'm going to hold here for another couple of minutes and just see what progresses, what happens. But ready to just charge across this room.
Okay, no problems. So you get yourself in readiness, and after a few minutes, again you hear the gruff voice of this bearded fellow who appears to be called Callum. You hear him from where he's moved south. You hear him shouting, "Go on, get in that boat, damn you!"
So he's talking to people down at the boat side. Okay.
Then you hear he's obviously like talking to somebody else next to him, and he's like, "Oh, call yourself pirates. They're only little. Throw them in the boat. Lift them up and throw them in if you have to."
Okay. With that then, I'm going to now use the west wall, and I'm going to try and hug that west wall and work my way down to the south. Obviously, there's a lantern there, but there's not a lot I can do about it.
Okay, again, make yourself a move silently roll.
That's a bit better.
Okay, yep, so you managed to, so in the flickering shadows of this lantern light, you managed to creep along the wall unseen, so feel free to move yourself.
So if I just move sort of one movement, that'll get me to there, I think.
Yeah, that's absolutely
I've
fine.
made that. And then I'm just going to continue to basically hug that wall with Bjorn, which I've lost.
Okay, you want Bjorn moving down to you, yeah?
Yeah, he's going to go with me, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries.
So do I make a check every sort of 20 foot or?
It'll be sort
how's
of
it
every
work?
time you're getting near to a light source, because that's going to be most noticeable.
Okay.
Okay, so Weimar, what are you doing when all this is going on?
We're still having the bows at the ready, but we're shuffling along here to be ready if they actually do spot our vanguard.
Okay, no problems. So as you're doing this, from the south, there is a little bit of a commotion, and you hear Callum's voice shout, "What are you doing, man? God, don't let her get away!" And then you see a young woman with red hair, obviously an ice walker, so covered in like minor injuries, basically come running into the cave here. She looks like she's been knocked around a fair bit. She's not had a particularly good time. As she comes running in, sort of like looking around, a bit of panic on her face, perhaps looking for a weapon or something like that, you see the three pirates who are situated around this, like raising their crossbows up and like lining them up on her.
Okay. Well, with that then I've got no choice. I'm gonna run towards the nearest one to her, and I'm gonna just launch my spear at him as I run across the cavern.
Yeah, no problems.
So I'll just move first. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Spear. So that's medium range.
Mm-hmm.
That's no penalties, is it?
No.
No. Okay, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna start running across, and I'll gesture for Bjorn to join me.
Yep, so you hear like shouts of surprise from the pirates, as obviously you've dropped the pretense of subtlety and you sort of run across.
Yeah. And I'm gonna launch it towards this guy over here.
Go for it.
Ugh.
It's enough to hit.
Didn't do a lot.
So you hurl your spear at this crossbow wielding pirate. It only causes them a little bit of damage, but it does appear to sort of like throw them off their game, so to speak. So they weren't really expecting a sort of Nordic barbarian to come like charging out of the darkness and hurl a spear at them. And you hear like a shout of alarm as this spear like grazes this guy. Okay, obviously since the rest of you have effectively got a surprise, you get to act first.
Yeah, so I'm going to continue heading towards, but I won't be able to reach them. But can I just spend my whole movement run to them basically and just engage them to stop them attacking this woman?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
So I shall move up to there. And I'm going to ask Bjorn to try and get her out, basically, or get her towards the others.
Yeah, so Bjorn runs over to this obviously already like injured woman. He quickly, so she sees he's an ice walker, so she's like more well disposed towards him. Although initially she looks like quite frightened as he like runs out of the darkness, but he just sort of like nods at her, and then he like throws one of her arms over her shoulder and starts like sort of lifting her up as best as he can to try and help her get away to safety.
Yep.
You can see she looks quite sort of like malnourished, and she's got numerous minor injuries over herself, so she's not in a good way.
Yep.
Okay, why more?
The old double mute.
That's the worst kind of mute.
Yeah, that's intense. Right, so I've got. Need to revise my.
So I've engaged one of them, but there's obviously these other two.
So, John, it says on the sheet here, encounter movement rate 15. Is that 3 squares?
Yeah, that's 15 feet, 3 squares, yeah.
I'm slow.
It's that peg leg, man. Although, ironically, you probably quite fit in, looks-wise, in this sort of...
Yeah, no. Mm-hmm.
Just need a hook.
You're probably more piratey looking than half the pirates in here.
Yeah.
Give him a hook. He'll fit.
Well,
right in.
I knew that this guy was going to be here because we talked about it. So we're going to try and shoot them, I think, because... Yeah, we'll both shoot this one.
Okay.
Bullseye isn't burdened with movement restrictions, so we're going to take up positions here. We knew as we were stepping around that we need to deal with these guys, so we're going to shoot. And here goes longbow.
Boom.
Oh, that's terrible damage.
Keep rolling ones.
It hits, but again, it's only a sort of glancing blow on this guy.
Yep. And then short bow.
It's a hit.
Oh, wonderful.
Bloody hell.
Okay, so a couple of arrows fly out towards this guy. He pretty much like throws himself back against the wall of the cave, and the arrows sort of like skim across his chest. You see like a couple of like little splatters of blood, but like nothing life-threatening at the moment. Okay, so we're going to move on to the NPCs. So it's 3 pirates with crossbows, although one of them's going to be attacking in melee because he's been engaged with Brock. So I'm going to have one shoot at Bullseye, which doesn't do anything. One shooting at Weimar. Which is a 14. Which obviously doesn't beat your armor class. So a couple of crossbow bolts fly in your direction, but you manage to dodge.
Let me check something. Yeah, 14 just hits.
Does it?
Yeah, I had my shield on, which obviously I wouldn't with the bow in my hand. So
Okay, in which case you take a mighty 2 points of damage as one of these crossbow bolts grazes your good leg. Okay, and then we'll do the one who is fighting against Brock, and he draws basically like a short sword from his belt and sort of lashes out at you, Brock.
Okay, yep.
And with a mighty roll of 8, he fails to hit you. You sort of like parry his blows. Okay, over to you guys.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm going to obviously attack this one in melee combat. So I shall swing at him. Oh,
Nice. Okay, yeah, so describe how you take this guy down.
yeah, so he's obviously fumbling quite badly. He's dropped his crossbow.
Yeah.
He's took out his cutlass or short sword, whatever. And he's on a bit of a ridge up there.
Yeah.
By the looks of it. So I've just come running at him, and I've basically sort of hit him with my sword, but it hasn't done too much damage. But as I've done that, I've sort of barreled into him, and he's falling back, and he just cracked his head open, basically on the rocks behind him.
Yeah, he's borne back under your towering sort of muscle, and you basically smash him down into the rocks. His body spasms for a few moments, and then he lies still. Okay, obviously you've got beyond to do as well.
Yeah. Do I just move him normal pace, or?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Move him normal pace, and I'll move the woman up with him.
Yeah. I think it's 20. Yeah.
Okay, now as you're sort of getting a bit nearer to the southern edge of the cave, Brock, sort of from the south, you can just faintly hear what you think is the sound of waves.
Okay. I'm trying to tune in for where these children are. Bjorn will ask the woman, where are the others? Where are the Icewind?
She points towards the south and said, they were keeping us in a cell back there. There's another passage. They've got a boat down there. That way leads to the sea. And she sort of points down towards the south.
Okay. Am I able to make my move then this turn?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just start heading in that direction to investigate.
Okay, no problems. Right, why more?
Yeah, I'll tap Bullseye. Just go, keep going, and he will. With a movement rate of more than I have. So it's 1, 2, 3. There we go. And he will also, as we go, I think he'll actually, before going, just take another shot at this guy.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Okay.
shoot before, can he?
Yeah. So, let's see, where are we? Short bow. Nope.
Okay, so he snaps off a shot, but obviously with him running through the cave and trying to keep his footing, he doesn't manage to land it on target.
And I will step here and shoot this one. Mm-hmm. Great.
It's still a hit.
Oh.
Blimey.
They're not very well armoured. They're just like guys in like jerkins. And that is enough to finish this pirate off. So as you start running up the sort of like the rise towards them, your bow out, you sort of drop down on one knee, fire off an arrow. It hits them dead centre in the chest, and they sort of crumble down to the floor, their crossbow slipping out of their lifeless hands.
A point of order. Where is Hannibal Purdy? I think I lost track of him.
They're back near the entrance cave. I can bring them in if you want. That's not a problem.
Yeah, to the at least around here.
The entrance bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bring in
fine.
A.B. or Moffat as well. There we go.
Cool.
Okay, so onto the NPCs. There is a creak as the door to the east opens, and the figure that you saw head through there earlier, Brock, comes running out, crossbow drawn. You also hear through the open door like the sound of shouting and footsteps sort of getting a little bit nearer, as presumably more pirates are coming to aid their fellows following the alarm being raised.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got one pirate who's involved in here, who's near to Brock, and another pirate is nearer to Weimar. So I'll do one shooting at Brock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a crossbow bolt hits you for 1 damage, Brock, scoring a shallow cut across you. And then we'll do the one who's a bit further north against Weimar. And again, another crossbow bolt zings out of the shadows, slicing across your shoulder for 1 hit point of damage, Weimar. Over to you guys.
Okay. Well, Bjorn's going to basically hand this woman over to Moffat. So he's going to basically come with me down to the south, hopefully with Bullseye. So he's going to tell her to sort of join the others up at the entrance to the cavern there. So he's going to move down.
Okay, that's absolutely fine.
He's just going to run down here, which is where I'm going. So what's the scene as I come into this?
Okay, so as you head into the cave to the south, you can see in front of you there is what appears to be an underground sort of inlet that leads to the sea. You can see the waves a short distance beyond the cave. There is a small boat, like a small wooden rowing boat, pulled up into the cave. You can see there are what appear to be 5 very small children sort of huddled in one corner of the boat. There's 2 muscular looking pirates who are sort of like each taking a side of the boat and slowly like pushing it into the water. There's this Callum, this bearded man who stood there like, yeah, go on, get the boat into the water. And then there's also another pirate wearing sort of chainmail who's like obviously like watching the cave and like sees you approaching and sort of shouts as you run up as his fellows are like pushing the boat into the water.
Yeah, so as I move down, I'm just gonna try and bring this guy down, this muscly guy that's trying to push the boat into the water. I'm trying to cut him down so that he can't get the boat going. So I'm just gonna take a hack at him.
Go for it. Ooh, that'll do it. Okay, yeah, so spurred on by the righteous fury of the Ice Walkers, would you like to describe how with one mighty swipe you take this muscular guy down?
Yes, I just come charging in, 2-handed sword. Obviously Brock, he's quite sort of red-faced, especially for Ice Walker at this point, where he's got his rage up and his hatred towards these guys, even though he doesn't really know of them. So he's just going to chop into this guy's leg. It's just going to fall into the water. And he's just going to get sort of swept into the sea, basically, struggling and just bleeding out.
And indeed, that's what happens. It's like a sheltered inlet, so he's not like immediately swept out. But as he falls in, you can see his body sort of like bobbing up and down, face down in the water, as you hack him down. So that leaves the other muscular-looking pirate, the one with the chainmail, and obviously Callum, and there's these small children huddled in the boat, so trying to press themselves into the side of the boat.
Has it temporarily sort of slowed down the boat going into the water? Or?
Yes, it definitely has. As this first guy's falling, you see the guy with like wearing the chainmail, the one with like the shield icon on him. He's like trying to like grab hold of the boat, but obviously he's got to step over the body and like he sort of pushes it further into the water with his foot to get it out of the way, and he's like grabbing hold of the boat, but he's like literally just grabbed hold of it now. He's he will be able to, on a following turn, start moving it again. But for the moment, you've arrested its progress.
Okay.
Okay. Why am I?
So, I'll motion for Purdy to just go as well. Ozai goes as well. Can he take a shot at this guy? I'm not sure how the... Because it's obviously not representative of...
No, I would
scale.
say yes in this situation, because obviously they're moving around, they're trying to move the boat, they're not all stood in static positions, so he'd be sort of like waiting for like a shot on that guy, and then when he gets his target, he'd like...
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say yeah.
So he's gonna give it a go. Let's see how that goes. Not very well, because it's a very moving target. So
Indeed, I'm going to say he's literally just about ready to fire his shot off when one of the sort of like children like stands up a little bit in the boat, and he obviously doesn't take the shot because he doesn't want to hit the kid.
it's a case of they're like, okay, well,
Yeah. So he's still got his arrow notched, but he's like, I've missed my opening. I've got to wait for like another one.
yeah. And I will go 1, 2, 3. And I'll shoot this guy. Could have used a hit.
Okay, yeah. So obviously, given your sort of your mobility limitations, you're sort of struggling to keep your footing on this uneven, rocky, sort of multi-level floor of this cave. So you're finding it quite difficult. Okay. Any more for any more?
Does Purdy have a... No. Oh, can Purdy run?
Yeah.
Okay.
If he
so
doesn't want to
he's-
attack, he can just move double his
No,
move.
no, he only has an axe. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. He's pelting it towards the boat.
Okay, no problems. So we go on to the NPCs. So these two are going to run up and attack you. And we're going to have some more coming out of the door here. Okay, however, they've basically, the three that have just come out, they've run to get there, so they're not going to get to do an attack this turn. Okay, so we'll start with the two attacking Wymot. Obviously, they've sort of dropped their crossbows, they're going with short swords. Okay, first one misses. Second one misses. So they run out and they sort of flail at you wildly with these short swords, sort of lashing out and like giving it the like as they're like lashing out at you. However, you served in the armed forces back in Keystone. You can tell that these are sort of like rowdy tavern brawlers rather than like disciplined fighters. So although you're pretty sure they could do you some damage if they hit, you manage to evade or parry their blows, because you can tell they're not sort of soldiers, they're more sort of like buccaneers and brawlers. Okay, so down here, Callum is going to step up to Brock. As he does so, he draws what appears to be a sort of quite a long sword that has like a bluish white blade on it. And as he draws it, he goes, "Oh, and Lake Finder here will be the last thing you ever see." And he lunges towards you, swinging this blade. I'm assuming your AC is higher than 11.
16.
Yep, so for all his bravado and his like, oh, this blade's going to be the last thing you ever see, he lunges towards you and you're just like, and just like parry his blow. There's a brief shower of sparks that sort of dance across the wall of the caves, and you do that bit, where like, he's trying to press your weapon close and you're like,
Yeah, the contest.
but he doesn't manage to sort of land a damaging blow on you. But sort of over his shoulder as you're tussling, you can see the chainmail wearing pirate is now in position, and they've slowly started to like move the boat again. Okay, on to you guys. So Brock.
So what I'm going to do is, can I move to here to sort of allow Bjorn to run past and try and stop him?
Yeah, oh yeah. Because obviously you're moving around in combat, so you just be like moving as you're fighting. That's fine.
So he's going to come down and try and attack this sort of muscly, sort of unarmored guy.
Yep, go for it.
With his hand axe. What's that?
Okay, so you do manage to hit him. However, it doesn't do an awful lot of damage.
It's a death of 1,000 cuts we're going through tonight. Is that guy close enough for me to have a swing at him as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try and fend off this captain or whatever he is, whilst trying to stop him taking the boat. So I'm gonna sort of turn and try and take down this muscly pirate instead.
Yeah, no problem. You have like taken him down, but good. You literally parry a blow from Callum, and as you do, you spin round, slicing a deep cut into the midriff of this guy who's sort of like coming up behind you with his short sword. He lets out a sort of strangled scream and falls backwards with a loud splash into the salt water.
I've got Moffat up the top. He's gonna come forward to try and assist Weimar.
Okay.
He can't actually get there, and he hasn't got a ranged weapon, so he's just going to engage this guy here.
Okay, not a problem. So he runs across.
Take some of the heat off.
Yeah, good call. Okay, Weimar.
Okay. Gonna switch to take out the shield, and then the dramatic reveal of the sun sword. Wah!
Indeed, the cavern is suddenly blazoned in the golden light of the morning sun as you draw the sun sword. And this loud, like, booming voice is like, "Now we'll see what's what here, you pirate scum!"
And I'll give this one a what for? Let's see. Okay. No.
Damn it.
No.
Okay, perhaps warned by the exclamation of the sun sword, like literally as you draw it out, this pirate's like already like throwing himself to one side. So as you swing it in a glittering sort of daylight strewn arc, he throws himself to one side.
And I think I'll sort of advance as I do the like swing in, and I'll sort of like step around him a little bit, bring up the shield to maybe block his next blow, and I'll need to remember to equip that now. So yeah, and I've got Bullseye as well. So Bullseye's coming in, switching the bow out for his. I think he has an axe.
Yes, he does. Yeah, hand axe.
Yeah, hand axe and shield. Yeah, so that'll all go on. So he's gonna try and tag this guy with the hand axe. Well then,
Oof.
that would be a bullseye.
Damn!
That's max on both dice.
Yeah, so Bullseye steps up and he delivers like a horrendous blow to this Callum. He seems like a little bit tougher than the rest, so it doesn't like take him down in a wanna, but you can see there's like a deep sort of wound in his side where Bullseye's like sunk his axe in and then pulled it out. You can see like blood sort of seeping down his grey cloak and onto his breeches as he sort of like staggers back, one hand holding his sword, the other like clasped against the wound in his side as he's like, "Ah!"
Yeah, I think there's that same kind of like it's an ugly, grim determination that probably Brock has, and Bullseye has it too. And like when it goes in with the axe, slips in between the ribs, comes back all bloody. I think Bullseye's getting into the spirit of things now. Yeah, you're getting down. So he's like takes the axe, is like licks it a bit like yeah. I got the taste for you now, and he's coming in with the second blow.
Callum staggers back and he's like, "You damn Ice Walker savages!" Okay, any more before the NPCs go?
You've got your other one, and you.
Oh
Middle
yeah,
of the
Birdie
cave.
is also coming in. 1, 2, 3. Oh,
You're not worried about all them lot at the top.
Well, a little bit, yeah. I guess seeing the like Bullseye is just wading in and just knocking Kellum about like it's nothing. I guess Purdy might be
I just think it might be better to
checking out.
reinforce.
So
yeah.
one is going to do a bit of like this. 1, 2. Yeah, he's coming over there.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so we'll go on to the NPCs then. So these three are going to run across. I'm going to one go for Purdy because obviously he's running up now. So we've got the two on Weimar. Again, both using short swords. First one misses. Second one misses. So they have, again, they swing at you, but they're such undisciplined fighters that you don't have any trouble parrying their blows. Okay, so the two on Moffat. Oof. Okay, so I'll deduct a couple of hit points off Moffat as he gets shanked by one of these short swords. The second one on Moffat. Okay, luckily for him, despite his injury, he is able to evade the second blow. So now the one on Purdy. Hits. Okay, so you hear a scream as Hannibal Purdy goes down as he gets shanked by one of these pirates who literally comes in under his guard and like jabs the short sword up between his ribs.
More fury.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the guy with the chainmail down at the bottom, who is going to attack Bjorn. However, he misses. And then we're going to go on to, last of all, Callum. However, what he's trying to do is he's not trying to injure you so much, Brock. He's basically trying to like force his way past you towards the water. So basically what I'm going to say is if we both make a strength check, obviously if he succeeds and you fail, he's made it past you.
Okay.
He's failed anyway, but okay, you have succeeded. So I'm going to say if you wish, you can cause him D3 damage as he's trying to sort of push past you. You know, you're getting like a cheeky shot or something like that.
Would certainly love to cause him D3 damage. Only one.
Still, every little counts.
Yep.
So yeah, he's trying to shoulder barge his way past you. Obviously, in a bit of a panic now. He's been injured, trying to get to the water, and you sort of push him back, catching him with the tip of your weapon as you do so.
Yeah, I grimace at him and just, you're going nowhere. And just pin him back.
Yeah, no problem. He's now trapped in the unenviable position between yourself and Bullseye. You can see he's like got a bit of a look of panic on his face. He's sort of like glancing around, obviously trying to look for like where he can go, but there is nowhere he can go. He's got to go past one of you if he wants to go anywhere. But before he gets a chance to do that, it's over to you guys again.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll go first. I'll attack this captain guy and see how that goes before Bjorn. Ah, curses.
Yeah, no dice, unfortunately.
And I think Bjorn will basically turn and sort of defend himself against this chainmail guy.
Okay.
That's attacking him. It would make more sense for him to do that and have his back towards him. Oh, no.
Okay, so Bjorn lashes out at him over the blow, sort of scrapes off the chainmail that the guy's wearing over his shirt and doesn't seem to cause him any damage. Mm-hmm. Okay, Weimar.
All right, so up here, these two currently menacing me. They seem to be. They're both with short swords.
Yep.
Swing at this one.
Okay.
Praise Gale. Yes.
That's better.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Okay, would you like to describe how you literally annihilate this person where they stand?
Is this like a stick with a lantern on it?
Yep.
So I want to say like we're fencing back and forth, and he sucks, so he's a bit wild. So he ends up like grabbing it, and he's like, "Oh, I've got a thing I can fend this guy off now." And I want to say like he's like taking the lantern with him and using it as like, you fight me. And,
he's like grabbed the pole with the lantern on it. He's like,
back, because he's got reach now. But I've got a sun sword, so like hit the lantern, and just the oil just ignites, spews on him, and there's a brief but horrifying scene where it's like burning from head to toe. It's like shrill shrieking.
And indeed, that's what happens. So Brock, from where you are, back in, you sort of hear this horrendous scream. You glance upwards back into the main cave, and for a few moments, like illuminated by this like burning sort of like almost Wicker Man-esque like shadow within this fire, you see this like figure flailing around on fire. So it runs around for like what seems like ages, but in reality is probably only a few moments before just like the pain and the shock kicks in, and it just like falls to the ground, still burning.
And Bullseye could, because rest in peace, Purdy. Your watch is ended. Bullseye is gonna. He started with it, and he's gonna stick with this sort of like intimidation shtick, which he's no doubt done many a time to non-ice workers, where he's like, "Oh, I'm the bad wild man. Come at me." And, so he's like spinning his axe around, like dancing. He's like, "Yeah, I got you now, boy. You're in the trap." And yeah, he's gonna take another swing. And axe melee, yes. Come on, no. Well, it goes overboard with the theatrics. It's more about the swinging rather than the hitting.
Yeah, like you say, he's got a bit carried away with his intimidation, so he doesn't manage to land a blow yet on Callum. Okay, any more before we go on to the NPCs? Okay.
Oh, I've got I'll muff it up the top, haven't
That's
I?
all right. Go for it.
Yeah. So he's going to attack the one directly in front of him
Okay.
to the east. I forgot him. Oh, nice.
Okay. Yeah. So Moffat hacks down one of these pirates with his hand axe. He falls to the floor screaming and then dies. Okay, so on to the NPCs, and I'm actually going to make a morale check for them because a lot of them have died, which they have succeeded in. Okay, so I'm going to move him down there. The one who has finished off Purdy is going to come up to assist his fellow with Moffat, and then we've got another one coming out through the door here. Well, that's their entire turn. So we've got one attacking Weimar with a short sword. Again, you parry it with the greatest of ease with the sun sword. And then we've got two attacking Moffat. Okay, yeah, Moffat goes down as these two pirates just sort of overbear him and stab him repeatedly with their short swords. Okay, so then we've got the chainmail guy down here who's going to attack Bjorn. Okay, yeah, Bjorn goes down as this chainmail guy just like hacks him down to the stone slick floor of the cave. And then we've got Callum, who is... I'm just going to make a random roll because he could attack either of you.
Yep.
So 1 to 3, it's bullseye. Okay, so he's attacking you, Brock.
Okay.
So let me just go to his sheet. And he's attacking you with this strange sort of like blue and white tinted sword. Which he misses. It's a 10, so he swings the sword towards you, and you duck. It strikes the cavern wall behind you. There's a shower of sparks. Although one thing you do notice that is interesting is as he sort of pulls the sword away from where he struck the wall of the cave, the wall of the cave appears like wet, as though like someone had like splashed water on it, and it like wasn't before he swung the sword into it. But yeah, you've ducked and evaded his blow. So it's back around to you guys again.
The tide is turning somewhat. Okay, well I've got to continue to attack this guy before this chainmail guy gets involved. Oh, miserable.
Okay, you don't manage to land the blow on him.
And both my others are out of action.
Okay, so it's on to Weimar then.
Right. Well, there's next next up this one. Go. Come on. Yes. It's a hit and a lot of damage.
Nice.
That one is done. You can kill them if you wish. Feel free to describe it.
Yep. I guess it's a case again of like wild swing, and this time because Weimar has actually clocked now that we have lost people.
Yes.
It's a fairly just a efficient parry the wild swing and just whoosh, like fencing, impale, withdraw the sword, and then just step over the body.
Yeah,
You pull
the
next
sword
body
out. You don't even bother to sort of like wait for them to fully finish, like falling onto the ground as you like step over them.
Yeah.
Just move Moffat out of the way so your tokens aren't overlapping. Okay, so on to the NPCs again. I want to make
we got bullseye as well. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
No,
yeah.
that's
Bullseye.
good.
Yep. Bullseye is
He's
is
still there,
gonna
like
make-
going like,
yeah.
giving it like his WWE like stance.
Yeah, he's got his theme music is blaring in his mind.
Can you smell that the Ice Walker's got cooking?
It's all about the game. Okay, so he's gonna take a swing with the axe once again.
Ah,
With a little effect. He's got the drama down, but the results are a bit.
He's obviously got a bit carried away with like his showboating.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to the NPCs. So the chainmail guy is going to move over to attack Brock.
Yep.
And this guy down here is going to move to attack Bullseye.
Bullseye, another one.
And this, since you're both now occupied, Callum is going to move through towards the boat to there. Okay, so the pirate attacking Bullseye. Again, short sword.
Better not hit.
Obviously he heard you, and he doesn't. Okay, so the one with the chain mallet attacking Brock.
Yep.
Misses, so it's just whether Callum can hit Brock with his strange blue sword. No. As pirates, they are utterly abysmal in combat, it would appear, and there's a lot of flailing around. The only thing they managed to achieve is like Callum basically is now like stood in the boat, like fighting. Okay, over to you guys.
Do your thing, Brock.
Yeah, I'm thinking we want to try and reduce the numbers down here, so I'm gonna take a swing at this normal pirate behind me, and then Bullseye can sort of help step up. So I'm going to swing at him. Oh, god damn it. He's gone into a rage. He can't control his sword properly.
That's it.
And that's my only man.
Okay,
All right. Again, this guy is next in the grim work that we do here.
Step up in line.
I guess that's a hit.
Yeah, it is indeed. It's not enough to kill them, but you have done a serious injury to them.
Yeah, I'm going to say, because it's been a theme here, so their technique is abysmal, just non-existent. So I want to say that's a parry as well from Weimar. You come in with the thing, he parries it with enough force that they're like, oh, like smacks themselves in the face with the sword.
No, it's...
Flaming sword ain't gonna help, is it?
Okay, any more for any more?
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
apparently the WWE show that's happening next to the boat.
Bullseye like reveals this like huge golden belt he's wearing.
Yeah, rips the skin tunic that he has.
That's it.
Yeah,
does he have like Hulk Hogan?
Yeah. Okay.
We need some finishing moves down here.
To be fair, I can't believe no one said you can't smell what the Brock's got cooking. To be fair, but
oh yeah, yeah, we need to. It was a fun campaign, but we failed terribly with our references here. So, hand axe, here we go. Hit, please. I think he gets a bonus. Yes.
that is indeed a hit. Describe how Bullseye takes this pirate down.
The pirate kind of came at him from around the corner because he was so focused on Callum.
Yeah.
And again, comes in with the just rabid attack, which beats him back. And I think that's when he gets serious, actually, and manages to push the guy against the wall with his shield, and then it's a gruesome axe shanking against the wall as he like pins the guy in places.
Indeed, that's what happens. There's only the pirate wearing the chainmail and Callum in the boat now.
He's gonna stride forward.
Okay, let me just move that dead token out of the way. There we go. Okay, so NPCs. Right, the chainmail guy is going to attack you, Brock. Again, using his short sword. Utterly fails, at which point Callum leaps off the boat into the sea.
Well, let's hope there's no sharks, because your boy is bleeding.
Interesting.
Over to you guys. Obviously, Callum like disappears under the water. There's now just this like one pirate down here, and the two or three that are up near where Weimar is.
Okay, well, obviously this guy's still fighting on, isn't he? The guy with the chainmail. Yeah.
He seems to pretty much realise like, oh, there's no way I'm getting out of here. So like, there's nothing for me to do but fight.
Yep. Okay, well, I'll just look to Bullseye, just give him the nod, and yeah, I'll hack into him. Oh, Jesus. I haven't rolled over a 5 since I've got down here.
Okay, can Bullseye do any better?
Let's see.
Come on, I've distracted him. We're double teaming now.
Here we go. The crowd holds their breath as the champion rears for the strike. And no, it's more of a slap.
Yeah, pretty much. The three of them are all like tussling backwards and forwards, like over the boat and like in the edge of the water and stuff like that. But no one's landed like a decisive blow on each other. So it's over to you, Weimar, and the two people attacking you.
He's continuing to get swung at. So let's see. There we go.
See anyone doing anything?
Yep, you hack the already injured pirate down.
Yep. Now he's getting angry because he's now realized that Purdy is dead too. So it's a case of like there's the he's swinging wildly at the pirate, and Weimar is just like hacking through it. Like the pirate is parrying now, but Weimar is just like continuing to hammer the parry down, and just like eventually it starts hitting it up. And then down he goes.
Indeed. Okay.
And I'll step here.
Yep, no problems. So, on to the NPC's turn. So, the one at the top has just come out the door. Is going to run to here. So running around the edge of the combat. The one who's fighting against you, Weimar, just like throws his short sword down on the ground and like holds his hands up and says, I surrender! I surrender!
We'll leave the resolution of that to my turn.
Indeed. He's obviously just seen you with like magical sword, like in a wanna, just like hack down his mate, and he's like, nah, man,
yeah,
nah, I'm good.
Like 3 guys in like 12 seconds or whatever.
He's just basically seen you like carve your way through all his mates, and he's like, no, I'm not getting paid enough.
It's like, nope, thanks.
It's just a pirate production line.
Okay, so the guy with the chainmail attacking Brock. Hits and does you 4 hit points of damage as he finally manages to get a stab in on you with this short sword.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, as you're sort of watching over his shoulder, as you're sort of reeling back from this blow, you see like a short distance out to sea. You see what appears to be like some sort of like grey animal, maybe like a seal or like a manta ray or something like that. Sort of briefly, sort of like surfaces in the water and then like disappears under the water again.
No sign of this captain
Nope,
during that.
he's not surfaced. It's over to you guys again.
Okay. Well, obviously occupied at the moment. I won't be able
I say we've got the tag team championship of Brock and Bullseye.
Yeah.
All the bees.
Yeah, bring in the steel chair, Brock. We need to sort this guy out.
Double B. Here we go.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, feel free to say how you take this guy down.
Yeah,
It's
so
done.
obviously Bullseye's managed to grapple up one arm with his shield and sort of basically made him not quite defenseless, but pinned one arm down. And I've just come down with a two-handed sword and literally cleaved his arm off, and he's just fallen to the ground.
Yeah, he falls to the ground. You see a few moments like as he fruitlessly tries to like stem the flow of blood coming out of his severed stump of an arm. But you see like as he's doing that, like his face is going pale, like the blood's just pouring out of him. And after a few moments, he just sort of like stumbles backwards and falls limply to the ground. Like, and he is done.
And I shall turn and look to the north to see, how things progress to the north.
Okay, so as you're looking to the north, you basically see like Wymore standing in this sort of scene of carnage. He's like covered in blood. He's still holding like the sort of hissing, because of the blood on it, the heat from the sun, so this hissing blade, as this pirate's like holding his hands up in surrender. So we jump to Wymore. This guy's like holding his hands up. What do you do?
So, just to clarify that I didn't miss anything, what's happening here? Who's this? Pirate?
That's another pirate, but they appear to be like running towards like the entrance that you used to get in, probably planning to like get away.
Yeah.
They're just like running. They're like not even like looking at what's going on behind them. They're just like, I've got to get out of here. Like everyone's dead. I've got to get out of here.
I'm gonna point the sun sword at the pirate in front of me.
Yeah, he's like,
Yep. I'll like make a downwards motion, and I'll drop my shield with the shield hand, draw the pistol. I'll take a shot at the one who's running for the exit.
go for it.
Praise Gale. Yes, it's a hit.
Okay, so as this person's like running away, obviously planning on trying to get out of here, your shot hits them in the back of one of their kneecaps. There's a loud and a billowing of sulphurous smelling smoke in the confined auspices of this cavern. You see it as pretty much this shot like annihilates their kneecap. They're not dead, but they're like, like fall to the ground. You can see like basically one of their legs is ruined. They're still alive, but like barely. You're like looking at how pale their face is. You're like, probably like a strong breeze could like finish them off now. But they're still sort of like on the ground, just like, trying to like crawl away, but they ain't getting anywhere fast.
And I'll turn back to like slinging the pistol back into the sort of bandolier that I have on the chest here. Yes. Feeling lucky, punk. No. I'll turn back to.
Yeah, he's still on his knees, like.
Yeah, and I'll. Is there more movement? Like anyone spring up from anywhere?
Not as far as you can see.
Yeah. So I'll say to him, like, is there more?
He sort of, you see him sort of like look around. Obviously, he's like a little bit panicked, and he's like, no, I don't think so. You see him sort of like go pale as he's like looking around and seeing all of his like crewmates just like annihilated around him.
I'll say to him, like, go down in your belly and put up your hands like this so that we know that you're one of the live ones.
Yeah, he does that. He doesn't even question it.
Yeah.
He just does it.
And I'll remain alert, survey the surroundings, because I don't know what's happened at the sort of dock down there. So I'll just stick around until.
Just give us a second. Someone's knocking on the door.
Some sort of Terminator RoboCop type.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Weimar couldn't miss, and everyone else could hit for toffee.
It's like with Weimar, every turn a hit, and with like aside from the first hit with Bullseye, it was just rude gestures.
I don't know what his captain's up to.
I think Captain probably had some stuff going on.
He's got to have some underwater breathing, sort of.
Yeah, I think
something.
I think there's probably some magic going on there.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem. We were just discussing how the captain seemed to have something going on.
Oh yeah. Okay, so as you're sort of looking across, you're surveying the scene. You see the sort of injured ice walker woman that you saved. She basically leans down, and obviously with a great deal of effort and pain, heaves up one of like the bigger rocks off the floor of the cave, and she starts like slowly walking across towards this pirate who's like, and she's like,
I'm gonna watch this as I notice it happening.
Yeah, if no one's anything to stop her, she literally brings this rock up and then smashes it down on this pirate, killing them.
Yeah. I'll nod at her if I can actually catch her eyes afterwards.
Yeah, she pretty much sort of like slumps down to her knees. Like I say, she's malnourished, she's injured herself, and obviously that took like all of her strength. So she sort of like slumps down next to like the bloody remnants of the body and the large rock that she uses as a weapon. But you catch her eye, you give her the nod, and she breathlessly, having like heaved up this big rock, just sort of like nods back at you. But she's like sort of almost like slumped over the rock, like using it to hold herself up.
Yeah. Okay, so at the boat.
Yeah, what remains at the boat? The children's still there.
Okay, yeah. In the boat are 5 ice walker children of varying ages, all sort of like 4, 5, 6, 7, very young. They look a little bit malnourished. Some of them have got bruises on them. They've obviously been ill-treated. They're obviously absolutely petrified, given what's been going on around them. So they're very quiet. They're also like huddled together, sort of like shivering in this boat.
There's nothing else on this sort of waterline, or this little.
You can't see anything else on the waterline. However, as you sort of like move a little bit closer to the boat, and you're sort of looking around, you can see that further along to the east there is like another passageway, which is presumably where the other pirates came from.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna put all my weapons away and sort of carefully, calm down and lift out these children. If they've got any sort of bindings, release these bindings or undo these bindings. And
they all appear to have like rope around their hands, and they've been sort of like roped together in like a line.
Yeah,
but so you easily like.
Yeah, I'll undo it rather than cut it.
Yeah, that's fine.
And reduce any sort of fear factor with knives and stuff.
Yeah, no problem.
Sort of lift them out, and I'm going to move back into the main sort of center of the cavern with the children, obviously making note that there's this other entrance, but I want to go and see what's happening up here first.
Okay.
I'll check Bjorn.
He's gone.
On the way past. Obviously come back to deal with burials and such after the immediate dangers and stuff have passed.
Yeah, obviously feel free to move yourself. We're not in combat rounds now.
Yeah,
as you're sort of like walking through the cavern, you can see obviously the ice walker woman sort of leaning on this rock where she's obviously killed one of the pirates. Weimar's stood there, still the sun sword drawn and looking around. He's got this pirate sort of like the one who's surrendered, like lying on the ground with his hands held like that. Obviously, you can see the now open sort of door in this improvised wall they made over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'll check on the woman. Just check that, you know, she's not got any serious injuries that are gonna be the end of her.
She doesn't appear to have any majorly serious injuries. It's mostly like small nicks, cuts, but quite a lot of bruising. And like I say, she's obviously not been like fed properly, so she's like quite malnourished and a little bit weak from that.
I just give her a little bit of food and water, just, you know, not to get carried away, but just to.
She thanks you, and then like presumably you said you've got the kids with you.
Yeah.
The kids seem to like perk up having seen her, and she sort of like quickly goes and she starts like checking them all over to make sure they're all right. And then she sort of like looks up at you like a look of gratitude, and she gives you a nod and says, "Thank you."
Are there any others?
No, we're all that's left of my tribe. They set upon us while we were unprepared, and they killed pretty much everyone else. I was injured and taken captive, and they took these children for. The spirits only knows what. Unfortunately, with my injuries, I was too weak to fight against them. By the time I fully recovered consciousness, I was already confined in this place. But thanks to you, we are now free. And again, she like thanks you profusely.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell her to obviously, you know, see to the children, try and calm them down, rest while we just investigate the rest of this place, make sure it's safe, and I'll go and obviously speak to Weimar and check over our fallen companions.
Yeah, no problem. She's happy to like take care of the kids while you're doing that. They obviously seem to know her. They're from the same tribe, so
we'll need to put down some graves, I think.
Yeah,
on the hill.
I think we should make sure that we've secured this cave or wherever before we take a rest and deal with our fallen comrades.
You wanna? I'll point here. You want to check that place? I don't think there's anyone there anymore, but it'd be something worth taking. That's where a lot of them came from, so probably they'll have whatever effects they had.
Yeah, I'll ask this pirate, sort of at sword point. Is there any traps or anything we need to know about in this place?
he's like, no traps.
Okay. So I'm gonna just step through the doorway to see what's inside this.
Yep, you step into the cavern and you see, like I say, it's like an improvised wooden wall with a wooden door in it, but it's been open and left open by the pirates who came running out. They didn't have time to lock it. So you push the door open, head inside. You can see like these Hessian sacks that you saw the pirate like stuffing gold and like various other items that you couldn't quite make out into these Hessian sacks. You search through them. In the sack there's a small gemstone worth about 50 gold pieces. There's what appears to be a piece of parchment rolled up with like a ribbon round it. There's a small like phial with what appears to be a slightly luminescent blue liquid in it. There's a couple of pieces of jewellery, which I'll give you a bit of a description of. Okay, so the first piece of jewellery you take out appears to be a set of beads sort of like linked together on a chain. They have a single violet coloured gem that appears to glow very faintly as though lit by an inner light. And then the second piece, again, it's an iron chain studded with many yellow gems. It appears to be in like quite a sort of old, archaic style, but it's very sort of flamboyant with a number of gems in it, and appears to be like in really good condition.
Write those down. Okay. And there's a doorway that heads to the south there.
Yeah, that's also open. Again, another improvised wall. You're just about to head through there when you happen to glance back at the northern wall of the cavern you're in, and you can see sort of behind a couple of these Hessian sacks is what appears to be a large spear leant up against the wall. Only you sort of like, yeah, that's a bit weird, not them using spears. You move a bit closer to have a look at it, and instead of seeing like a metal or stone sort of spearhead, well, the spearhead appears to be made of solid ice.
I'll certainly investigate that. That sounds quite interesting. Is
Yeah,
that something I've seen before?
It's not something you've seen before. However, as you head towards it, you can see, like in the language of the Ice Walkers, inscribed on the shaft of the spear, it says the Spear of the Hunter in the Ice Walker language.
I shall take that from its resting place there.
Okay, no problems. I shall add that to your sheet. You should now have the Spear of the Hunter on your character sheet.
Okay, cool. And I shall look at that at a later date. Obviously looks nice, but I shall continue to search, and I shall proceed to this south doorway and just see if it links up.
Yeah, not a problem. You open it up, and through another sort of naturally cavernous corridor, you can see again what appears to be another one of these improvised doors here. It's open. You go and have a quick look, and there's just like a small cave there. There's like some ratty old like furs on the floor. You think this is probably where they were keeping the prisoners.
Yeah.
And then as you sort of follow the passageway around here, it eventually leads back to the cave mouth that heads towards the sea. So you think that this is how this will make their way around.
How was the woman and the kids? Did they have much in a way of clothing, of warmth and stuff? Or
they just had like generic like furs and sort of leather clothing on, like your standard sort of like Ice Walker clothing.
Okay. Well, I'll grab what I think is some of the better furs from this pile here in this room, just to give them a bit of protection from the temperatures when they get outside.
Yeah, no problems.
And I'll head back to the main room.
I'll inquire as you come in. Did you find any manacles or the like?
No, there wasn't any more signs of anyone else. There was a secured room, which is probably where they were keeping them.
Okay. No, it was just, I'll motion at the pirate, but I've got the rope here, so I'll say to the pirates, like, I'm going to secure you now.
He just sort of nods, but he doesn't say anything.
Yeah. So I'll tie him up with the rope.
Yeah, that's not a problem. He's not in any position to put up any sort of resistance. I'll just put a little sort of webby icon thing on him.
Maybe you should ask him where he thinks the captain would have fled to. If they got a bigger boat.
Do you have a bigger boat?
He says, well, he says, yes. He says the ghost ships are further westwards on the coast.
Mm-hmm. The ghost ship?
No, the ghost's ship.
And who are those?
He says, you must have heard of the ghost. She's one of the most bloodthirsty pirates on the seas.
We're a bit more land-bound these days.
He says, well,
Well-
she's the captain of the fleet.
The fleet. How many ships are we talking?
Three. Her ship, the Cry of the Damned, is biggest.
Okay.
And he says, obviously, there's Callum's ship, the Gold Raider, but that's what I'm crew on, but that's nowhere near as big.
Right. And that's you're all taking Ice Walkers, is it? Or is
says,
this
well-
your
He says,
side
well,
business?
not just specifically Ice Walkers, anyone we could get our hands on.
Okay. Good to know. Do
So-
any raiding on the trade routes up here?
He says, yeah, of course.
Hmm.
He says, what with every man and their dog looking to settle in Valconan, there's a lot of ships that are easy pickings.
How many more pirates are back on your boat then?
He says, oh, there's loads of us.
Yeah, there's bound to be at least several dozen per ship,
He says,
depending on how
he
big
says,
the ships
us
are.
here, we were just a small supply run.
And your captain, he'll be able to make his way back to your boat, will he? He seems to have disappeared.
He says, yeah, I should think so. What with that cloak of his?
What cloak is that?
He says, well, they say that it was given him by the ghost. It's this special cloak that, like, when you go in the water, it lets you turn into some kind of like fish thing.
Foul magic.
He says, well, they say that the ghost used to have it, but she gave it to Callan, and he's had it ever since.
Be handy on a ship.
He says, yeah, well, that's why she sends him ashore as like one of her lieutenants, because if like things ever do get a bit go south a bit, well, he doesn't need a boat to get back to the main ships.
Yeah.
Right.
Not so good for the rest of his crew though.
You see, he sort of like goes pale as you say that, because obviously he's pretty much out lying in the graveyard of the rest of his crew.
Yeah. There's a sea of bodies. Did you get anything, or rather, did we get everything we wanted from the other room?
Yeah, I'll bring everything in that I previously found.
Okay, yeah. So it's 50 gold pieces. There's these ice fire beads that are worth 900 gold pieces, and there is this tiger eye chain which is worth 1,600 gold pieces. And obviously there's this scroll which has a ribbon round it, and there's this phial of like faintly glowing blue liquid.
Yeah.
And obviously the spear that you're carrying, Brock.
Right. So I think we're good to leave.
Well, I was
And
going to say, I think it's, and isn't it right at the end of the day? I'm just wondering if this might be a better place to sort of hold up, a bit warmer.
Yeah, I mean it was dusk when you got here, so it's probably night time by now.
And it will give off our new friend here, and I'll grin at this pirate, time to dig some graves.
I was thinking I'd do that myself. You're free to join, but
Well, I'm happy to sort of do the ceremony of such, but
right.
I feel that he's earned the rights to do the labour, the hard work.
Right. Okay. So the order then would be let's get our friends buried.
Yeah.
Let's take a rest. And I think we need to turn around and go back to New Zealand. Right.
Have we got anything to fear in Deersun now that we're so close?
Yes, slash or no.
Yeah.
I don't. That was more complicated than I needed to make it, but
Yeah.
I don't think we actually know what's going to happen in Deersun.
Well, all I'm saying is you've got to, the journey itself is dangerous, isn't it? Every time we journey, and we're nearly there. Is it worth us trying to achieve our goal and then heading back?
Yeah, I was just thinking. Well, we have enough food, so we can leave. Did we have how many people we have here? If we're holding up here in the caves, how many people do we need to feed?
Well, there's the 5 children. There's the Ice Walker woman. There's your pirate captive. Obviously yourselves and Bullseye. So it's 10 people in all.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can. I think we can do that. I think we can hold up. They know that the captain can make it back in, I presume, no time at all to the ship.
Yeah.
And they'll know that something happened here. If they have 3 large galleons, or even if they're not operating galleons, they will have a lot of people, much more than we can handle.
Yeah, but do we need to then warn the people of Deersun that there could be some retaliation and not leave them sort of, they're not going to know about this necessarily, and it's not just down the road, but it's not far away, is it? It's the nearest sort of civilization.
Yeah, it's about half a day's travel away from where you are now.
Yeah. So I'm just a bit concerned that, well, we sort of came to bury the remains of our previous companion, but also that they might try and retaliate on the sort of nearby town, thinking that we've come from there. Maybe I don't know.
So how about this then? We get our friends buried. We'll rest until dawn. At dawn, everyone leaves. We go to Deersun together. Let them know what happened. Look for the plan was originally to go to Deersund and find the bones.
Yeah, to find the bones of
Yeah.
Gordon Sinclair and give them a proper burial.
Yeah, so talk to people in Deersund what happened, find the bones. If there's any kind of business to be done, do it, and then head back to New Zealand. How's that?
Yeah, I think that's probably our best plan of action with the current situation that we're in.
Okay, so as you guys start sort of like burying the dead, settling in for the night, I'm going to suggest we have our 5 minutes of a comfort break here. Then when we come back, we'll pick up with at dawn, you guys rolling out. How does that sound?
Yep. It's cool.
Okay, so back in 5 then.
Have we lost Johannes?
We seem to have for the moment. Hopefully he'll jump back on in a bit.
Yeah. Here he is.
Okay, so we pick up at dawn. You've buried your dead. The sun is rising over the horizon. Anyone who's taken injuries can get 1d3 hit points back.
Yep.
Okay. So the plan is to push on to Deersun at first light. It's not a problem. You're following the coast. There's no chance of you getting lost or anything like that. So you quickly make your way to Deersun.
Did the party token jump?
Yeah, it jumped
Way
right,
to the
right up to the top. I'm not sure why. So let me try. Let me just try moving that again. Okay, it just keeps jumping to the top. I'm not sure why that is.
That looks interesting.
I'm not sure what's going on with that, but
We found a portal.
I'll say yeah, unknown magic portal.
Oh no!
What are the chances? Let me just.
Yeah, random encounters, guys.
Yeah, things getting a bit crazy. Well, let's try that again. There we go. That was random. I don't know what happened there. The joys of technology, guys. The joys of technology. But yeah, you make it to Deersun. It's much as you remember. As you're sort of heading towards the little sort of village with its little wall around its little wooden defence wall, you see what appears to be a cart heading towards you, sort of like away from Deersun. Obviously, having come from there, travelling away from it, it appears to be like moving at quite a rapid pace. There's like a couple of sort of like mules on the front of it. You can see a sort of your typical sort of like farmer type like sat on the front of it. He's got like a middle-aged woman sat next to him on like the front plate of the cart, and he seems like quite intent. He's like really sort of giving it to the horses to get them to move quickly. Doesn't appear to be heading like a beeline towards you guys. He just appears to be heading away from Deersun.
Just before we sort of meet this guy, in the distance, can we see any signs of these boats that this pirate was talking about on the shore?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. So we haven't got that as an immediate.
No, you,
Okay,
you expect from what they've said that they must be like much further along the coast.
On the west, yeah. I'll try and sort of wave this guy down then to try and sort of slow down and tell us what's going on.
Okay, make me a charisma roll.
Oh, bloody hell.
Okay, so he obviously sees you waving, but like he doesn't seem to be like slowing down. He's like, "Get out of the way!" As he's like lashing the reins of.
Yeah, so as he's
horses.
sort of rushing towards us or rushing past us, I just say, "What are you running from? What causes this haste?"
He's as he's like passing you, he's like leaning back over his shoulder, and he's like, "The village, it's cursed, cursed! I tell you."
What do you mean?
I guess that's all all the information we need, almost. So,
You, or at this point, Wymo, you can also make a charisma check.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I told you should have washed all that blood off your face.
Okay, he doesn't stop, but he slows down a little bit, so you can sort of like jog alongside the cart. And he's like, "Oh, I'm getting my family out of Deersun. It's not safe for all the devilry that's going on there." He's obviously like doesn't want to stop, but he's like slowed the cart down a bit so you can sort of like jog alongside and like chat to him.
Yeah, I mean, we're heading there, so we need to know. What is this? This curse you talk of?
He sort of like looks a bit uncertain. Then the woman like next to him sort of puts a hand on his leg, and she's like, "Oh, tell him, Zephaniah, tell him what you saw." And he's like, "Well, about a week ago, one of the young women in the village, she and he sort of takes his hat off and like holds it against his chest. She died. It was a terrible accident while she was fishing. Nothing to be done about it. Just one of those things. However, a few days later, I saw that same dead woman lurking around the building where we keep all of our crops. And then a few days later, half the crops were spoiled. It's the devil's work, I tell you." He says, then there's what happened with the children. And he goes a little bit pale.
Is he continuing his talk?
What children?
He seems to like be sort of like lost a bit in his memories, but the woman sort of leans over and says, "Oh, there was ever such strange behaviour." And I just sort of looking around, now you see they've got a couple of kids in the back of the wagon, and he said, "Oh yeah, lots of the children in the village were behaving strangely. Lots of them had started like walking in their sleep, or sometimes you'd be talking to them and they just seem to lose what was going on, like they weren't there for a moment, and then they'd be fine." Myself and Zephaniah, and she sort of like takes his hand. We decided that it wasn't safe for our family anymore. We packed all we could onto our wagon and we decided to get out of there.
Where was this woman buried that had this unfortunate accident?
He says, "Oh, she was buried near to the village where we bury anyone who unfortunately dies there."
Well, maybe we'll go and investigate.
He says, "Well," the man suddenly says, "Well, you feel free. I'm taking my family to somewhere safer. I don't know where, but there's got to be places that are untouched by such devilry." And he starts to like lashing the horse again to like get the cart moving. He says, I wish you the best of luck though, but I'd stay clear of Deersun if I was you. The devil has taken the village." And then he like lashes the horses and the cart starts moving quicker.
I'll just say, if you follow the coast, you'll come to New Zealand, and you can maybe set up your family there.
He shouts back over his shoulder as he's like disappearing the distance. He's like, "Thank you, stranger. Thank you. Perhaps we will."
So we best go and investigate.
Okay, so you continue into Deersun. It's much as you remember it, a small sort of little provincial village with this little fortification wooden wall around it. However, as you approach, you notice there are a number of sort of armoured like guards standing around that you didn't see previously. They're wearing sort of like half purple, half black livery, which any of you who've been to Fort Eastburn will recognise as like the livery of Fort Eastburn. And they just sort of stood around. You can see they're mostly stood around sort of like the main sort of like town building, you know, the centre building. You can see like a number of the villagers are sort of like excitedly like muttering to each other, and they're like crowded around like the central building as well. Through the sort of open door, you can see what appears to be a young woman, again wearing like the livery of Fort Eastburn, a few guards with her, and she's sat down at a table with what you assume are like the elders of the village, and they're in a conversation. Obviously, you're not near enough to like hear what's going on.
So does it look like people are being challenged to enter, or
No. It just looks like a conversation's going on in like the town hall, for want of a better term.
Oh, okay.
And like everyone's attention seems to be on whatever's going on there. No one really like clocks you at all. The guards appear to be stood around, presumably because like they can't all fit into the town hall, and obviously the people are sort of gathered around trying to like hear what's going on, and sort of like looking over each other's shoulders trying to hear what's going on in the town hall.
Well, I suggest we go and investigate as well, see if we can see what's happening. Seems to be something of interest.
As you get closer, no one challenges you or anything like that. You know, you've been seen in the village before, so like a few people will sort of like nod at you or recognise you. But given like what happened to like the last people who like threw down with you in like Deersun, no one's exactly like whipping a weapon out and like getting ready to go at it with you. And as you get closer, you hear the last like snatches of conversation drifting out through the door of the town hall, and you hear this young woman saying, "So I hope I've outlined the benefits to all of your satisfaction. Obviously, take some time to think about my proposal. I know you want to discuss it with your villagers, and you want to talk about it amongst yourself. Obviously, we'll be returning to the tower soon. You know where you can find us. Actually, we're planning on there's another village just along the coast to the east, and she sort of like turns to one of the soldiers, and she's like, he leans forward, he's like, I believe it's called New Zealand, ma'am. He says, yes, that's right, New Zealand. We're going to head there and make them a similar offer. Hopefully they'll want to get on board as well. So we'll be doing a little bit of a circuit, heading there and then back to the tower, and obviously we'll have to report into to the fort. So you've got plenty of time to think about it. There's no rush, but hopefully you'll at least think about my proposition. And this sort of assembled group of like village elders like, well, yes, you've certainly given us some things to think about. And yes, you do make a good point. Yeah, indeed. Yes. She says, well then, I'm pleased our first meeting has been so productive. I'll leave you to have some time to think over what I've said. She leans back to the soldier who's at her side and then says, if you can get the men ready to move out, we'll follow the coast to the east. Give these good people some time to digest matters. At which point the soldier nods. He walks outside and he starts like snapping orders to the guards to like get ready to move out. What do you guys do?
Well, do you think we should sort of introduce ourselves as... I'm not a founder sort of New Zealand, but Weimar probably is. To get a heads up on what they're going there for? Or do we wait for them to get out of the way and ask the... Yes, I'm not.
I figure we don't need to make too much of a fuss of ourselves.
No. So should we wait till they've sort of left the room and ask what's happening?
Let them sort themselves out and then... Well,
what sort of numbers are you talking about, John, when it comes to guards and stuff?
There's like 8 of these guards.
Oh, so it's quite a few.
They're all sort of carrying spears. They're wearing sort of like chainmail, and as I say, the livery of Fort Eastburn. this.
But no one looks unhappy particularly or
No, well,
in distress or anything.
no, they don't look like they're spoiling for a fight or anything like that.
No.
The guards are sort of getting themselves ready and like, grabbing their spears and getting ready to move out. And then this young woman, again, like black and purple livery, sort of slightly sort of silvery grey hair, walks out. He says, "Oh, good, Lieutenant, are we all ready to move out?" He's like, "Yes, ma'am. All the men are ready, present and correct." She says, "Well, let's move out then." And she turns back, looks through the door of the town hall and says, "It's been a pleasure. Obviously, you know where we'll be once you've had a chance to think about what we've said, and hopefully we'll speak again soon. Take care." And she forms up at like the head of this small like unit of soldiers who starts sort of like very efficiently, and you recognise like in a military style, Weimar starts sort of like marching out of the village to the east.
Yeah, I think that's our cue to get in, talk to the locals.
Yeah, there's plenty of them about. Obviously, the elders are still in the town hall.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, grab the like one elder, or if there's an opportunity to talk, like one-on-one, then that would be the preference. But
yeah, not a problem. Eventually, they'll start sort of like filtering out of the building, so it's quite easy just to like tap one of them on the arm and like catch their attention. That's not a problem.
So, I'll say, well met. We're neighbors from New Zealand.
Oh, well met indeed, young man.
Couldn't help but notice the liveried folk from the fortress.
Yes, that young woman was Lieutenant Dixon from the fort to the northwest of here, Fort Eastburn.
Some business they had.
Yes, yeah. I don't suppose it's any real secret. Well, they've approached us with I suppose a proposition, you might call it. Apparently, they're expanding the reach of, I suppose, their fief, whatever you want to call it, and they're looking to fortify the coast of Valconen, against the invaders and whatnot and such like. And well, they've approached us and asked whether we'd consider, as a village, becoming, I suppose, a vassal of their fort.
Did you come to a conclusion?
No, obviously, a matter like this, the elders, we need to discuss it with the village. They did make a very good case for it, though. I'll say that. Obviously, they're volunteering to station people here to help with the protection of the village. They're volunteering to help us with resources, things we can't get ourselves. Obviously, it's an extra place we can rely on should the winter hit us harder than we anticipate. That sort of thing. Apparently, according to Lieutenant Dixon, they've already built I suppose, a tower or a small keep, I suppose you might call it, about a day's ride to the north of here. I think Staffstone, I think you said they were calling it.
I will roll out the map that we have. A day's worth north, you say, around here, and I'll start, triangulating on the map. Where are we talking? And I watched the elder take out the red pen and put.
Indeed, he's like, oh yes, it'd be about here.
Right. Okay. A tower, you say, for the military?
Well, it's the way it was told to me. It's more of like a watchtower, so they can keep an eye on things that are going on and
the coast.
Yeah, and if they the way they were selling it, if villages like ours, if we needed some additional fortification or resources, it'd be quicker for them to get whatever we needed from the tower rather than all the way from Fort Eastburn, which is a good additional day's ride with a fair wind. Still, she seemed a pleasant enough woman. I'll say that for her.
Right. Okay.
Hmm.
Interesting developments.
He's like, I recognise you. You're one of those New Zealand lot, aren't you?
That would be correct. Yes.
He says, well, your people will find out themselves. They were heading to your village next.
Oh.
Yeah. So from what she was saying, I gather they plan to make a similar offer to your own village. They said something about this. Some like ruins of a settlement nearby in the forest. Apparently, they're planning on building another one of these watchtowers there, but they seem quite keen to get local people involved and get permission of people, not just plonk a tower in their backyard, that sort of thing.
Well, would be nice to ask at the very least. I'll say and laugh.
Yes, quite. Well, they did approach us a while ago and ask about building the staff stone tower. Although obviously it wasn't mentioned us potentially joining this fiefdom at the time, and obviously we didn't see any harm in it. So they did at least ask us. I presume they're planning on doing the same with your own village before they start building a tower nearby. So from what the young lady was saying, I got the feeling that she apologised for the fact her lord couldn't be here in person. Apparently, he's on a diplomatic mission to Fort Kersey or some such thing. But she seemed so that her lord was quite concerned that obviously ourselves and yourselves, we sort of braved the perils of this land to come and settle here. They seemed quite concerned that when the long winter has passed and the summer months have arrived, that those people who had not dared face the risks, who are still back in Rohaleen, would attempt to surge forth here in great numbers and benefit from the blood, sweat and tears of those of us who did risk the dangers of Valcona. And they well, I can't say I'm in favour of that, and they certainly didn't seem to be. So I very much got the idea that the part of these towers was for watching, and also was to make the statement that, well, we don't need a lot of people from Rohaleen coming in and trying to take things over when we're doing perfectly fine ourselves.
Well, the affairs of lords. Always putting up towers, seems like.
Well, quite.
We, speaking of the coast, again, thank you for the information.
No,
it was very much
fine.
appreciated.
It's not a secret.
Speaking of the coast, we came upon an operation. I'll give a side glance to our enroped friend.
Yeah.
We came upon an operation of gross malfeasance, and we laid several bodies to the ground as a result of that. Pirates of a fleet of 3 ships.
He grimaces and he says, well, now you mention it, about must be 4 or 5 days ago, one of our fishermen did say that he'd seen a ship flying red sails further down the coast. He said it was quite some distance away, though.
I'll glance at the prisoner, and it says red sails? Question mark.
He obviously his hands are tied together,
yeah.
And he sort of nods and says, pull up the sleeve of my jerkin.
I'll do. Yeah.
You pull it up and you see again he's got the sort of tattoo with like the skull and the little like sort of plus sign underneath it, a little cross, and he says, yeah, it'll be red sails with like a white version of that on it. He says, yeah, that's one of the ghost ships, all right. I don't know which one.
Well, as I said, we put several bodies in the ground, so they might be looking for revenge. And if they decide to take it out on you, I'm not sure if we can help you, but we thought at the very least to bring you the information. And
He says,
you have my condolences if they.
I wish I'd have known that. I'd have asked Lieutenant Dixon whether she could have left some of her guards here to help protect us.
Do you have a runner perhaps with a horse?
Yeah. At which point he sort of nods and he grabs one of the villagers and he's like Toby, get one of the horses, ride out and see if you can catch up with the soldiers and see if you can bring any of them back. Tell them that we're worried about potential pirate attacks and we could really, as a gesture of friendship, would they consider aiding in the protection of the village, just in case. At which point the young lads are like, yes, of course, master, no problems. And he gets on like this horse, which it isn't a racing horse, it's like a work horse, and he like, starts like trotting away in the same direction that the soldiers went.
Yeah. It seems like this might be a problem for all of us here, and well, we're all probably going to suffer for it eventually, but even if we're not going to be here to help you, perhaps when they come looking for trouble, you have our sympathies and help if we can provide it.
Well, thank you, much appreciated. Obviously, if there's anything weird, Deersun, I know our village is small compared to your own, but obviously if there is anything we can do to help, of course. I mean, we are, as you say, neighbours after all.
No, it's...
Although, given upon reflection of what you said, it seems that perhaps the Lord's offer of increased security might bear some further consideration. After all, if we're going to be raided by pirates and the like, we could certainly do with some more trained people. After all, we're fishermen and farmers. We're not warriors.
We could definitely use more swords on the coast. Seems like there are 3 ships, I'm being told, and I was not a sailor myself, but I've been on ships. That's a lot of people they could put on the ground.
Quite.
If they wanted to go raiding. So that is... I'll be upfront. I'm not a great fan. Sorry, very too modern lingo. I'm not one that appreciates the nobility over much. But the Lord of Fort Eastburn does have swords.
Oh, quite.
And that's something we do need on the coast.
He says yes. They were telling me how a number of units of their soldiery had recently killed this huge spider thing. They were telling me about. I forget exactly what they called it, but yes, apparently they killed it. I mean, to the north on the edge of the Whale Song Woods. And well, if they can take that, assuming this creature was as big as they say it was, if they could deal with that, I don't suppose a few pirates would be any problem for them.
No, that definitely sounds like something we could use against the pirates.
Have we heard any of the sounds of that giant creature since we've come out of the
Nope.
cave? Maybe it's true.
Well, we...
As you're saying this, you hear the sound of like footfalls in the distance, and you can just sort of see like this horse like coming back with like these soldiers are walking. They didn't get that far. You can see him like seemingly like all of these soldiers with this woman at the head of them sort of coming back with this like horse like sort of walking alongside him with this young lad on top. Sorry, go ahead.
Remind me, John, do we have any idea where the bones that we wanted would have ended up?
You knew from the vision that you saw they were supposedly on like the northern edge of the village where it first starts getting into like the trees of like the southern part of the Whale Song Woods. They were sort of just within the tree line.
Yeah. Okay.
At which point these sort of like guards are walking up with this young woman, and she sort of sees the elder and says, Elder Joseph, your boy Toby here tells me that you're having some problems with pirates? Oh, yes, this fellow here is from New Zealand. At which point she smiles and nods at you, Weimar. Was saying that they've recently encountered some pirates that they had to deal with, and we did sight a ship with a red sail off the coast. Well, it must have been 4 or 5 days ago now, and obviously if they retaliate, well, we'd be hard pressed to defend against them. The young woman says, were they flying any particular standard or symbol or anything of that nature? The elder's like,
So what we're talking about, like, is there anything to identify them by?
yeah.
So I'll describe the markings we've seen.
The young woman pauses for a few moments and then she says, yes, that sounds like the emblem of Catherine Alson, also known as the Ghost. Yes, she'd no doubt cause us some trouble. A number of they call her the Ghost because she's managed to evade capture so many times. Yeah, she's supposed to be quite bloodthirsty and willing to turn her hands to almost anything to make a profit, and like a look of distaste creeps across Lieutenant Dixon's face as she's talking about this woman. He says, well, yeah, obviously we're happy, Elder Joseph, to leave some of our men here. I wish I had more to leave here, but what you see now is the reduced member of my company. We lost a good deal of men fighting against that great beast I was telling you about earlier. He's like, well, yes, of course, but you were saying that you'd be able to help us with security if we were to accept your offer, and well, given these present circumstances, I really don't see how, as the elder of Deersun, or one of the elders, I really don't see how in good conscience we could refuse your offer when there's obviously a clear and present danger to our citizenry. At which point she smiles and says, well, my lord will be absolutely delighted, and obviously we'll head back to Staffstone, and we'll try and round up some men to send them here to reinforce your village, so that if these miscreants do return, we can hopefully help you deal with that matter. Hopefully a show of force. If they see most of these pirates, they're cowardly creatures. If they see your village is well defended, they'll move elsewhere looking for easier pickings. But yes, well, are you sure you're happy to accept our offer? I don't want to pressure you into anything like this. I appreciate it's a big decision. And he says, well, yes, I think we have to accept, given the danger to our citizenry. He says, well, much as I'm sad about the events that have led to it, I must say I am, of course, pleased that you have decided to accept our offer. And as soon as my lord returns from his diplomatic mission, I will, of course, let him know, and we'll do what we can to help you out.
So they said that the Lord of Eastbourne has gone to Fort Kersey.
That's correct.
Fort Kersey's empty, isn't it?
You evacuated everybody after the siege of the Shadow Elves.
Yeah. So I'll take Weimar to one side and sort of say, what do you make of this talk of the Lord going to Fort Kersey? I mean, they know that it's empty as well as us, don't they?
And it's probably the reason why they went. I'm thinking they're scavenging whatever they can, and
you're thinking they're securing it and taking it over and making it into a new base? And
well, it could be, but I don't know if they have the people for 2 forts in just one fort.
No, I wouldn't have thought they would either.
But I was thinking it's more of they're peeking over the corpse. And the new lord has.
Have you guys stepped away to have this conversation?
Yeah, off the side.
Yeah, just checking.
Yep. The new lord is. I would I would not put it past him to have some interests in that location that we will never fathom, given his proclivities in the mountains.
Yeah, I mean, I don't quite understand what he's trying to get from Deersun, because it seems to be a one-way. It seems seem to be benefiting from everything. What's the fork getting in return?
It's just more land, more people. He's probably looking.
Is it going to be more taxes and?
It's what I've just heard from the elder there. It sounds like we're building a kingdom. To fight off the kingdoms from back home.
Well, maybe we wait to hear from them ourselves. Maybe we should conclude our business and head back before they get there.
While I have your ear, is there something you want to ask from our captive?
Yeah, well, that was the other thing. What are we going to do with him? Do we give him to these soldiers to deal with?
I think not. I have a thing in mind, but I thought to ask you if you had any ideas.
I mean, I've got no problem with getting rid of him, as you could say, if needs be. I wouldn't even consider it a task. I would be more than happy to deal with that. But if you feel that he's more useful to us.
Well, I was going to say, do you think of can you think of anything else we might want from him? He's given us the fleet, the numbers, names. We could ask him where they make berth, but we don't have a ship, so I'm not sure that's useful.
I mean, whatever information he's got could change at any time. Where they're going to attack, where they're
and it is a fleet, so knowing one place where one ship might be at a time is not very.
The only thing that I would consider maybe he might be able to give us is any more of these locations where they use to hold up
on the coast
any of their stuff.
Right.
Hit them where it hurts.
I'll inquire about these hideouts, and I'll see to sorting him out once we're done with Deersun.
Yep.
So I'll go and shake hands with everyone. The elder, if the fort's leader is still around.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
I'll go and introduce himself, shake hands.
Okay, so you just walk up and you're like, "Why am I?"
I'm just not busting in, but when there's an opening, I'll go in. It's like we never introduced ourselves. I'm Weimar.
Oh, Weimar Lone Grove. And then she points to Brock, and she says, "And then that must make you Brock Montaigne."
Whatever it is.
Yes, I've heard of
it.
We
probably did it.
Says, "Well, this is a stroke of good fortune. I was actually don't you normally have a couple of other people with you?"
We're a bit dispersed at the moment.
Ah, well, such things can't be helped. It's a good stroke of good fortune bumping into you here. We were actually planning on seeking you out at your home village.
So we heard. Right, we would be interested in hearing what you have to say.
Oh, splendid. Well,
but we have some business to conclude here.
Of course.
So I propose you go ahead with your plan. We'll catch up with you at New Zealand if that is acceptable to you.
Oh, yeah. Yes, of course.
And you'll probably have something to deal with here with the elder's request and all.
Yes, well, I'll leave most of my guard here. I'll just take a couple with me for security purposes, and the three of us will travel on to New Zealand, and we'll leave the rest here to help with defending Deersun.
Right. My proposal to you is let's reconvene at New Zealand.
Yes, that sounds absolutely fine. He says, I suppose I should introduce myself. Mercy Dixon.
Well met, Mercy.
I'm one of the lieutenants from Fort Eastburn, now chief in charge of Staffstone Tower to the north of here.
Well, we should be getting on. So until we do meet again.
Indeed, don't know. And she starts getting ready to go out with two of her men, and tells the rest to remain behind and help defend the village.
Yeah.
And you're left to your own. She bids you a farewell and leaves you to your own devices.
Well, I was just going to say, maybe once we've finished our business, perhaps we should accompany them, safety in numbers and all that, on the way.
It was just because I don't know how long it's going to take for us to find the.
But we could potentially catch them up.
Yeah, we'll catch them if we can.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys have got a cart there walking, so it's not really difficult.
All right.
Cool.
So off to the edge of the wood, I think, to do the thing that we wanted to do.
Okay. Yeah, you've got a very competent wilderness person with you in the form of Brock. So roll me a d6, Brock. Anything but a 1. Doesn't take you very long. You will find the body, but on a 1, it's taking you a while. No, it takes you maybe a couple of hours. Luckily, because it's been raining recently, there's not heavy snow, and you sort of know the rough area. So after poking around for a while, you do indeed find sort of half sunk into the now sort of muddy ground what you think are the bones of Gordon Sinclair. There's still a few tatters of his clothing and personal effects about it, which you recognise.
Yeah, well, we should, we'll probably bury him just inside the woods, I guess. Out of the sort of plain view and such. Give him a proper burial. Follow any standard protocols that he would have followed, if we know him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like most people from who originally came from Rovellini, follows the way of Leander, which you certainly Weimar would be familiar with, because you'd have seen people have to be given battlefield burials and stuff like that. So you probably know an abbreviated version of the sort of burial rites. But
at the very least, I'll know a short, unrelated litany. Yeah. So we'll do that exactly. So I'll probably read off the ones that I remember, the battlefield, litany, and then these conviction statement, prayers that we probably have for Leander as well. I'll just read out those for.
And indeed, as you're reciting these litanies, and Brock is sort of covering the grave over and making it all nice, etc., you see a faint, hazy figure of Gordon Sinclair sort of stood at the foot of the grave. He looks down at it sadly. You can see through him. He's gauzy and transparent. He looks down at it sadly, looks up at the two of you, smiles, then he turns around and starts walking off as though he's walking into the forest. But with every step he takes, he gets fainter and more indistinct until eventually he disappears.
And I'll just say farewell, my friend, as he sort of walks off.
You very faintly just catch the word farewell. So drift and thank you. So drifts back, but it sounds hollow and echoey, as though it's coming across a vast, incalculable distance. And then the voice sort of trails away into silence as the last misty remnants of this spectral figure of Gordon Sinclair disappear, having been laid to rest. And you're both filled with a sort of an odd sense of given everything that's happened recently, you're filled with an odd sort of sense of peace and rightfulness as you have laid this unquiet spirit to rest.
Too much burying of companions.
It was a more costly trip than I anticipated.
So these ice walkers, where are they from? Where are they planning to go to? Because they've got no one either, have they?
They don't seem to have thought about it. Like I say, they're the last survivors of their tribe. They can't really go back to the tribal lands because there's not like enough of them. Because most of them are kids. Like the woman couldn't possibly support all those kids on her own. Just logistically, it's not possible. And obviously, they're all still in a bit of a state of shock, so they don't really seem to have thought about it. That her only thought was like, "Oh, I've got to get these kids away from these like horrible people." But now that they are away, she's sort of like in a bit of a sort of daze, like, you know, like didn't really think about the next step of it. She's like, I want to get away. She never really expected to actually be able to get away. Yeah. So she like never planned beyond that.
So does Weimar think there's any reason they wouldn't be able to come back to New Zealand?
No, that was entirely the thought from the word go, because we knew nothing about Deersun, and we're definitely not sending them to the fort.
No.
So New Zealand it is.
So I'll tell her, I'll take her to one side and let her know that they're more than welcome to journey with us.
Yeah, she accepts your offer. I mean, she's very grateful to you all because you've like rode in like big shiny damn heroes and like rescued her and these poor unfortunate children. So yeah, she's quite happy to go along with that. You find out that her name is Lan Rivar. And she was a member of the Snow Lynx tribe, but like I say, they've been pretty much wiped out. Aside from the few remnants here, like her and these children, she has a bit of a general chat. She gratefully accepts your offer and again thanks you both profusely for saving her and the children. And then she spots that you're like carrying this spear, and she says, "Oh, good. I'm glad to see that the spear of the hunter has been recovered. I wouldn't like to think of it languishing in that dark, horrible place."
It was something from your tribe, was it?
Yes. Long ago, the priests of our tribe, and she looks a little bit sad and maudlin. She says this. They called the blessings of the spirit of the hunt into the spear, so that it would aid whoever carried it in providing food and hunting down animals to help feed the tribe. But given that you have rescued us and that my own tribe is sadly no more, I think it is only appropriate that you carry it.
Well, I gratefully accept this gift from your tribe, and I shall put it to good use in future times.
It's good. From what I've never used it myself, but from what I understand, it will help guide your aim when you're hunting, and even help you find animals to hunt, even in the bleakest and most desolate of the white wastes.
Well, I'm sure the priests of the Ice Walkers know what they're doing. I'm sure it will be good to be put to good use. So again, I thank you.
Indeed, although they are now one with the spirits, I would think that they would be happy that a warrior of our people is still holds the spear. After all, better it be in the hands of one of our own than, and she spits on the ground, than those people.
Yeah, while I still draw breath, then it will stay with me.
She says, "Good, and do not think that I will that we will not contribute when we are within your halls. Although I am weak at the moment, I am more than capable of, once I'm recovered from my injuries, of bearing arms to help in the defence of your halls. It is the least I can do. Although, of course, my priority must be the survivors of my clan. I must teach them our ways. They're still very young.
Yep. And we just have our general chit chat as we, no doubt, will start to head back to New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely fine. So, is there anything else you guys want to do, or are you trying to catch up with the soldiers?
Yeah. I'll be very interested to catch up with them if we can on the way back.
Yep, you guys are in a cart. They're walking. It's not difficult. As Mercy Dixon said, she's taken 2 soldiers with her, and they're just sort of like acting as like bodyguards to her, and they're sort of making their way along the coast towards New Zealand. It doesn't take you probably maybe a day, so you can each gain like D3 hit points back.
Is your plan for the pirate when we get back to New Zealand, or?
It's when we catch up with the soldiers.
Okay.
Yeah, which indeed near the end of your first day of travelling back, you do catch up with them, and they sort of hail you as you're heading alongside them in your cart.
Yeah, and I'd like to, as we catch up with them the next time we set up for camp, I'll get Bullseye and the lieutenant in the evening, and I'll let them know that I want to have a chat before we reach New Zealand.
Yeah, no problem. Well, they're planning on like camping for the evening anyway, and then like they'll reach New Zealand on the next day, like halfway through the next day. So yeah, you all sort of set up camp in a group, like safety in numbers, obviously. And in the evening, all of you want to be can be sat around. You've made like a little like campfire. The soldiers have got like mess tins and like travelling rations and stuff like that they've got over the fire. They've got pipes, stuff like that. All the normal sort of stuff you'd expect like military people to be carrying in their backpacks.
Yeah. So as the sort of evening, like it's a good time. Like we're camping, we're eating, we're drinking.
Yep.
I'll tap Bullseye, the lieutenant, and Brock, and I'll say, there's the matter of the captive to be dealt with, and I will be dealing with it. Now, before I do, I wanted to ask you, Lieutenant,
Yes.
what is the punishment for people like this in your lord's lands?
Well, given that you said previously you'd had an encounter with pirates and this person's a captive, I'm assuming he's a pirate.
Oh yes.
I'm going to assume that in case, as is often the case in things like this, he's guilty of robbery, no doubt murder, other such crimes.
They were going to sell ice walkers.
She frowns at that.
And other peoples as well.
Well, then I would suggest that justice should be meted out swiftly and decisively.
Is there something I can pick up or maybe roll for here? I'm trying to gauge her, reaction to this idea of dealing with this guy because of the crimes.
You don't even have to make a roll for it. She's being quite open about how she feels. She's obviously not a fan of pirates. When you're like, yeah, they've probably killed people, they've probably robbed people, she's like, yeah, that figures, doesn't want any part of that. She's like, no, that's not a thing that should be happening. But then when you say like, oh, they were like kidnapping like children to like sell, she seems utterly disgusted by that. And like, if she was even slightly wavering about like what should be done with them, as soon as you say that, she's like, nope, let's just deal with it. And she goes on, she's like, resources are so scarce that I do not believe we should spend another day feeding such a person.
I'm going to look at Brock and say, because you have stronger ties to the people owed retribution here. If you want to do it, you can do it. I will do it otherwise. If you demand to do it, that is completely fine. And I think we will all agree if you wish to do this yourself.
The lieutenant nods and says, I certainly have no disagreement with that, as you are more the wronged party than I.
Well, I would offer that same courtesy to the woman of the tribe that was, wronged, basically. So.
Okay, we'll go tap her then. Bring her into the circle.
Yeah, you bring Landrivar over.
Before that, did you ask him about other hidden locations along the coastline?
Yeah. So that would have happened during the...
we had
like
fine. We'll
day.
hand wave that. That's fine.
Yeah. So I would have asked him, like, is there any more, just basically safe houses, like hideouts on the coast that he knows of. Now, he's only one person off of one ship, so could be he knows absolutely nothing, but
it's worth asking, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, he tells you that further along the coast, and I will indicate it on the map. So there. He tells you that there's a hidden inlet there that he says it's not like a dedicated base, but like they have used it in the past. It's like a sheltered, like hidden inlet.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I would make that offer to, was it Lambasar?
Landrivar, yeah.
Landrivar.
And I want to stress, as Brock finishes, I want to stress that we're not forcing this on her.
Yeah.
But if she wants, then that's something she can do.
Yeah, I will basically sort of say the same thing as Weimar said to me. If you don't want to do it, I'm more than happy to do it. But it feels like it's your decision to make, and if you wanted to get some sort of justice or retribution, or
she says, I'm perfectly, given what they did to us, I'm perfectly happy to send him to meet whatever foul gods he follows.
But just be sure that it doesn't weigh on your conscience, if you want me to do it.
She looks at you and her features soften a bit, and she says, I thank you for the offer. It is very kind of you, but I assure you my conscience will not be overburdened by removing such a creature.
Okay.
I would have to beg your indulgence to borrow a weapon off you. I have none of my own.
I'll take out a knife. Hand it over to her.
Yep, you give her a knife. She literally walks over to where this guy's presumably you've got him kneeling on the ground.
Yeah, he's set off tied to a tree somewhere.
Yeah, she literally just walks up, grabs his head, pulls it up, and across the throat, and he's and then expires a few moments later.
Yeah, and we are. I'm guessing we're quite close to the coast here. So in the aftermath, we'll drink and all that, and settle in for the night.
Yep.
And
Mercy Dixon nods approvingly as Landrivar kills this pirate.
I'll take the corpse, because we don't want to deal with the corpse in our evening, eating and communal activities. So I'll take the corpse, and I'll actually spend the rest of my rope on this. So I'll, as close to the water as I can, I'll get a tree, I'll put him up, the classic noose on his neck, tied up so that the rope is there, so that his corpse will be hanging off the tree there. I'll have taken off his shirt, and with the same knife, presumably, if she gave it back to
Yeah,
me,
she would have done. Yeah.
I'll have carved on his chest slaver in the common tongue.
You do that again. Mercy Dixon like nods approvingly as you're doing that.
And this is a night that Weimar is gonna get absolutely shit faced if we have any booze. It's
Yeah, the soldiers have actually got some like beer and stuff on them there. They're quite happy to like.
I'll bargain, beg, and maybe steal.
You don't even have to. Basically, Lieutenant Dixon just sort of like says, they're happy to, since they're planning on like coming to you guys in a sort of diplomatic sort of style anyway. They're more than happy to share what they've got. I mean, they're hoping to pick up provisions at your home village anyway, so they're like, yeah, no problems.
So Weimar is going to be extremely morose after this, and get tanked.
Okay, so we sort of fade in later on to a scene where Weimar and Mercy Dixon, Lieutenant Dixon, are sort of sat around the fire. Obviously, people are still about and everything's still going on. And she says, "Tell me, Weimar, you're a military man, aren't you?"
Well, used to be anyway. No military around here.
She says, "Yes, I've done my time soldiering myself. I know we were going to talk a bit about this when we reached New Zealand, but given I've just seen how you decisively dealt with that creature," and she like jerks her head in the direction of the hanging tree, I feel I should talk to you about it now. You see, my lord is very concerned that when the more temperate summer months arrive in Valconen, as they surely must, those who did not dare risk the dangers of Valconen, but sought to let others take the danger in their place, will seek to send their forces and their people to Valconen to attempt to claim all that we have worked so hard to achieve here.
It's just a matter of time.
Yes, I agree. My lord has been working on consolidating and uniting at least the coastal area in order to hopefully deter them from this. I may mention the recently completed Staffstone Tower that I have been placed in charge of. We hope to build another such watchtower in the ruins of Castlemaine, I believe it's called.
I'll not.
Just across the river from your village of New Zealand. It is hoped that if we can build enough of these watchtowers and fortify the coasts, it may deter those who had not the courage and the fortitude to leave Rohaleen from attempting to profit off our hard work. The word of the vanguard of the Immortals, your band has reached the ears of my lord and many others such as myself. My lord would actually like to have a meeting with yourselves when he's returned from his current mission. He hopes to make the same offer to your home village as we made to the elders of Deersun, but more than that, he would also like to extend an offer to you personally to become the Castellan, if you wish to call it that, of the new watchtower that we would seek to build in the ruins of Castlemaine. People with good military experience and strong morality are few and far between in Valconen at the moment. We have heard of your deeds. My lord believes that if you were willing, you could play a great part in ensuring that the future of Valconen is not swept over with a tide of idle rich nobles and their lackeys from Rohaleen.
And you'll hopefully forgive me for I am drunk, and
That's fine.
we
I've been a soldier myself.
and we have dispatched a man whose life came to the sad pass that he was willing to sell people. Like, never mind his...
Can you really call such a person a man? I wonder.
He was once. Is the... Never mind the corpse now swinging in the wind.
We are all the sum of our decisions, whatever, both the good and the bad, and we have to take responsibility for wherever the path we choose leads us.
That's right, and as I was saying, you will forgive me. My first concern here is that I would have avoided having myself and my friends, my new family, be lorded over by a noble from the old country. And instead, I would have them be lorded over by a lord from the new country.
I entirely understand that, and it is the belief of my lord that the old ways of doing things are not suitable for this new land. It is his hope that by building this series of independent but interrelated watchtowers, that the people in charge of those watchtowers would form I suppose call it a council, a group, whatever you wish to call it, so that each of these towers would be governed or presided over by someone who is from that area, so that the interests of those people within that area could be represented. My lord recognises that the concerns of the immediate concerns of Fort Eastburn are not necessarily the concerns of Deersun or the concerns of New Zealand, although they may have an effect on each other. And he believes it is only right that if a tower was to be built in the neighbourhood of New Zealand, that someone who has lived and worked and bled for that area should be the person to be in charge of it. That is why he has not simply ordered us to build a tower and attempt to force our will, such as it were, on the area of New Zealand. That would not do.
I wonder. We would never have spoken, and I find it. Never mind my suspicions of your lord and his motives, but I'll give him at least that. We would not have spoken, you and I, if he was more ravenous.
Indeed, had my lord the wish to do so, he has men enough and forces enough to attempt to force his will on the surrounding area, but that is not his wish. He knows that people forced to sort of bend their knee to someone their heart will never truly be in their work, or they will not be loyal. They will simply serve out of fear, whereas a person who is working for the betterment of their home, governed by people who share their concerns and their fears, then they will be more motivated to work for the common good.
Is she drinking?
Yeah.
So I'll get I'll refill her mug, hand it over to her, and I'll slowly nod, scratch my chin a bit, and I'll do a little cheers, and I'll say, it's probably not the best of times to talk about high matters such as these, but I'm surprised, to say the least, to hear these words, and I am cautiously pleased by them as well.
Indeed. Well, my lord is attempting to reach out to other people who he believes might help consolidate and work for the common good of the future of Valconia. Much as there are day-to-day current affairs that need to be dealt with, my lord also has his sights on the future. He wishes to see Valconan become something like the great state it once was when our ancient forefathers lived here. But he believes that should fall to those people who have been willing to risk the dangers and shed their blood upon the snow here, not those who simply waited to let others take the risk and then sort of swoop in afterwards and claim all the glory, if you will.
That is the. Yeah, I'm from Keystone, so I know about the way how there's always someone ready to come and pick up all the things you've built, and
Indeed,
I was thinking that will happen someday. I knew it would happen.
Indeed, it may not be this season, it may not even be next, but my lord is of a similar mind to you with this. He knows it will happen sooner or later, and the more we can be prepared for it, the more we can ensure that all we have strived to accomplish here isn't simply swept aside, to the point where he's even reaching out to the current occupants of Fort Kersey and has even dispatched people with messages to Forts Hawk and Everless, in the hope that all of the respective lords can meet together and form if not an alliance, but a common bond to help secure the future of Valconan.
Your lord is very ambitious.
Of course.
Which, given that he's a lord, comes with the territory. I will have to talk more about this, and we'll have to talk more about this with the people of New Zealand as well. But for my own self, I applaud the ambition. I think you are speaking through. This could be something, Lieutenant. I think this could be something.
She chinks a tankard together with your own, and then says, "Well, hopefully, this is the start. If we can all, it is my belief, and also my lord's, that if we can all work together, then we can secure a brighter future for Valconan."
Hear, hear.
At which point we cut across to, happening at the same time as this conversation, we cut across to Brock, who sort of stood there like mingling, eating a bit of food, doing whatever, and you hear like a couple of the soldiers, like the two guards who are with her, sort of like talking, and you just catch the end of the conversation as one of them's like, "Yeah, well, I don't know how we'll get on with them things at Fort Kersey," and they're sort of stood like chatting to each other, like having a drink, leaning on their spears.
Yeah, with that, I'll approach, and I say, I couldn't help but overhear you talking about Fort Kersey.
He says, they turn around, they've obviously had a bit from the look of him. He turns around and he says, "Yeah, that's right. Lord Brannan's gone on like a second diplomatic meeting he's gone to there."
And you know who lives at Fort Kersey?
He says, "Well, what I hear is it's these weird, like, what Tom, what did the old guard boy call them?" He's like, "Oh, shadow creatures." Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he managed to negotiate with them.
He said, the soldier leans over and he says, "Well, I don't know how true this is," but he says, "Well, what I hear is these like shadow elf like creatures, apparently, like, they're mainly bothered about trying to find a cure for their condition. You know, trying to get themselves back to a bit more normal. And he says, well, my lord's no master of the arcane arts, but he does have certain resources in that department, so he's hoping that, you know, if he offers to help them out a bit with what they're trying to do, maybe that'll help him out a bit. You know, that's what the diplomacy game's all about, isn't it, Tom? And this other guy's like, yeah, it's all about a bit of give and take, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I do most of my diplomacy with my sword, and I sort of pat the hilt on my sword, so I wouldn't know about those things. Well, what do you think of this new lord of yours? What do you make of him?
What, Brannan?
Hmm.
He says, yeah, he seems all right. I mean, don't get me wrong. After Lord Eastburn died, there was a bit of upset and a bit of friction and whatever. And any time a noble dies, there's all manner of rumours flying around and people saying that someone killed him and whatnot. And a few people left, and there was a bit of trouble with law and order. You know, whenever a lord passes, all the criminals come crawling out of the woodwork. Think it's a free for all. And he had to crack down a bit hard at first when he was taking the reins, to make it known that he wasn't going to stand for any of that sort of behaviour in Fort Eastburn. But now things have started to settle down a bit. He seems to be doing a pretty good job as far as I'm concerned. You know, and I like what he's saying about keeping Valconan for those of us who were willing to take the risk of coming here, rather than just letting any Johnny come lately come sailing in when we've put all the bloody work in.
Yeah, I heard there was quite suspicious rumours about how he became Lord.
He said, yeah, there were lots of rumours flying around. He's like, and don't get me wrong, whether any of them are true, I can't say or not. But all I can tell you is that Lord Eastburn was, I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but he was a frightened old man. He'd been shuttled off to Valconan by his family because he was fourth son or third son or something like that. So they didn't really have anything for him back in Rowaleen, so they stuck him on a boat and sent him here. He was an old man. He just wanted to live out the rest of his days, you know, in his little fort, king of his tiny little hill, and that was it. And like I say, he was an old sickly man, and it's sad, but you know, he died, and whether the rumours are true or not, I can't say, but I personally think Fort Eastburn's far better. I mean, I can't picture, again, don't mean to speak of the dead, but I can't picture Lord Eastburn, rest his soul, Leander, rest his soul, trying to weld everyone together, you know, to get everyone working together towards the same thing. He'd have just been happy to sit in his fort, live out the rest of his days quietly, and that'd have been it.
And did you serve with the Lord himself? I mean, did you
I wasn't
travel with him?
I wasn't one of his personal guard or anything like that, but yeah, I went on a few missions and whatnot where he was there. Yeah, I mean, back when he first arrived. I mean, later on when he started getting really ill, not so much. He didn't really leave the fort much.
And what about the new Lord? Do you serve closely with him?
He says, well, we've been assigned to Staffstone Tower now, so we take our orders from Lieutenant Dixon. He sort of points back across where you can see in the distance, by one of the fires, Weimar and
Yeah.
Lieutenant Mercy Dixon talk. He says, yeah, we take our orders from Lieutenant Dixon. But I've been on guard duty when he was walking about, when Brannan was walking about and stuff like that. I've bumped into him a few times, you know, when he was getting stuff from the market sellers in Fort Eastburn and stuff like that. He seemed right. I mean, don't get me wrong. He came off as a little bit stuck up, you know, like all these nobles do. I mean, they can't help it. But yeah, he seemed all right. Never did me no harm.
Yeah, I heard rumours when I was in that area that he used to travel to some strange cave.
He says, oh, yeah. about a day's ride to the east of there. Yeah, he's from what I again take it with a pinch of salt. I don't know how true it is, but from what I heard, he's really into like his old history. You know, I mean that's part of the reason he came to like Valconen in the first place. You know, there's so much like old shit around here, and he's like. He said that there was some like these caves were like really old, and there was some like old stuff in there, and occasionally he'd get some of his like guards together and he'd travel out there to see if he could find any old stuff in these caves, and occasionally he'd come back with a few like little bits and pieces like bits of statue and bits of stone that he'd found and stuff like that. Got right excited about it.
You were never lucky enough to go on one of these trips then?
No, it was only like his personal guard he'd like take with him. And well, I was just one of the standard guards in the fort. But before I got promoted to working in Staffstone.
Well, I'm sure you're doing a fine job.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Says, how are you? He says, at this point, can you roll me a d6, please?
All right. A 2.
He sort of looks at you and he like narrows his eyes and he's like, have we met before?
Do I recall meeting this gentleman before?
Not as far as you recall. Bit difficult to tell me. He looks like a generic soldier.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
He's like, oh, you just look a bit familiar. I'm sure it's nothing. And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. Like I say, it was a bit weird when he first took over, but yeah, everything seems to have shaken out all right now. He says, tell me though. Obviously, I can tell by looking at you, you're one of the locals. How did you come to be shacking up in this New Zealand?
Well, it's a long story, but my tribe was pretty much wiped out when I was a young fella, and I've spent most of my life roaming the land looking for somewhere.
He's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. He's like, Tom, pour the fellow a drink. And like, a beer's poured for you.
Well, that was many years ago, but I mean, I'll have a drink with him. But yeah, I've found that I can call this place home, and I think the people there are doing a noble cause. And
he says, well, I'm sure you probably know, but Lord, and he's like stuttering a bit because obviously he's like getting steadily more tanked. He's like, I'm sure you've heard that Lord Brannan, he's gone out of his way to like have as many of the locals as us newcomers working around Fort Eastburn. He's very keen to that all the people who are currently living in Valconen, who are like putting in the effort, should like all share in like the potential rewards in the future. That's like your people, my people, like probably even them like weird like shadow things.
well, I mean, it sounds nice, and we'll see how that goes, I guess.
Yeah, we can but hope. I mean, you know, might come to nothing. I mean, like I say, he says, I'm not really sure if I should be telling you this. And he like leans a bit, his voice is slurring. He leans in a bit closer and he's like, I've heard that they want to build another one of like Staffstone. They want to build like another tower near your village, and I've heard that they want to offer the stewardship of it to your boy over there. And he points at Weimar.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's not a bad idea.
Well, no, I mean, Lord Brannan, he's very keen that the steward of a particular area should come from that area, because obviously they'll know what's going on with the people who live there.
So you never know. I might be friends with your boss soon.
Hey, stranger things have happened. He's like, he says, yeah, Lord Brannan's got this whole idea that like each of like the people in charge of like the towers, they'll be like, I don't know, like a group or whatever, and they'll all sort of if anything important, they'll all sort of be in charge of their little area, but if anything important happens that affects everyone, they'll sort of all come together in some like meeting or whatever to like discuss it. I don't know if that'll work. I mean, it sounds a bit far-fetched to me, but you know, I mean, it's a new idea. Maybe it'll work. I mean, what do I know? There's a reason I'm a soldier and not like one of these like government types, isn't it?
Well, let them talk about the political stuff.
He says, "Yeah, leave that sort of stuff to the nobles. I'll drink to that." And he like chinks his tankard with you.
Yeah. Well, I offer him a sort of warm handshake.
Yeah, he shakes your hand.
It's nice to know that there's some honest soldier types keeping us safe, keeping our people safe.
He says, "Well, yeah, let's hope we can carry on. I mean, like I say, I don't know how things are going to work out in the future. I'm not like a seer or a priest or anything like that. But you know, I've got to admit, when you listen to Lieutenant Dixon and some of the others like talk about how they see the future working, it's almost enough to like make you believe it could happen. And I hope for myself that it does happen. I mean, let's face it, we all came from here once upon a time, right? If you believe like the history and whatnot. So you know, it'd be good to see it rise up again. And you know, who knows?
Who knows, indeed. And I'll continue the small chit chat with them for a little bit longer.
Okay, so as you guys are sort of chatting to these soldiers and to Mercy Dixon and the various other people there, obviously Lan is like taking care of these like, Ice Walker kids and stuff like that. The night wears on, everyone carries on drinking and eating. Like you all have a bit of a chat and like agree to all like travel together. The last leg to New Zealand like the next morning, you know, strength in numbers again, stuff like that. And as night begins to fall and people slowly start filtering away and start like going to sleep and stuff like that, that is where we're going to fade out and draw an end to the session. So thank you very much for playing, guys. I hope you enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Very good.
And obviously we will sort out XP and whatnot. But for now, I'm just going to, again, thank my wonderful players and anyone who's watching this, either now or in the future. Hopefully we'll catch you for the next episode. Take it easy.
Goodbye.